Believe Sports Network.
Oh, now you all want Bill Belichick. Now you want Belichick when he's actually got a job in North Carolina. Now multiple teams, including the Raiders and Tom Brady, are reaching out to gauge Belichick's interest. Guys, he took a job in college less than a month ago. Nobody wanted an interview with this dude 4 weeks ago, but now you can't get off of him, according to NFL Network. Good morning. Hey, Pearl, how you doing?
Well, most of the teams I'm actually tracking it. They're interviewing 743 people. I was reached out by 2 NFL teams to be the head coach. But
I hope you stay with us.
Yeah, no, the funny thing about it is, like, do they really want him to be their head coach, or do they just want to talk to him and put him in the mix? So I look back at a month ago, Bill Belichick probably reached out to teams and said, will you hire me as your next head coach? And people didn't say definitively yes. So he's like, I'll take the North Carolina job. Now, so that I think that's a big question. Is he in the mix? Like, are they interviewing Ben Johnson and Bill Belichick? Is he like being compared to like a 38-year-old offensive coordinator? Like, what does this all mean? Yeah, of course you would want to interview Bill Belichick, but here's the question too. Like, if you interview the greatest coach of all time, you have to commit. Like, you can't. That's what I didn't understand about last year. You don't bring Bill Belichick in the building and let him out, but apparently teams do.
Well, the Falcons did. Right?
Yeah, I know, which is nuts.
Right, and the Falcons did. You look back on it. Falcons not making the playoffs this year. Would they have made the playoffs if Bill Belichick was their head coach? I think you could say yes, they probably would have. They have the talent, they have the roster. But let's put that aside for a sec, because you said an interesting thing. You know, if you're going to bring in Bill Belichick, is he being interviewed in this cycle? I'm always just baffled by how NFL teams have so little foresight. And what I mean by that is, if you have coaches, if you're an owner and you have a coach that's already on the hot seat, whether it was a Matt Eberflus or whether it was a Robert Saleh or whether it was a New Orleans Saints.
Dennis Allen.
Thank you. You go into the season, you're already not sure. You want to know why you're not sure? Because you haven't given these guys contract extensions for years and years. You haven't committed a lot of money to these dudes for years and years. So you can interview and you can talk to Bill Belichick behind the scenes at any time. This isn't tampering. If the Chicago Bears wanted to talk to Matt Eberflus, wanted to talk to Belichick behind Eberflus's back, they could have done that at any time, and they decided not to.
He's not on a team, right?
Right.
If he was on a team, it would be officially tampering, I think. But
yeah, and also,
but you could call his agent either way,
and he wouldn't be interested because he'd be coaching a team.
Yeah, good point. So right.
It's like, this is what I think is just kind of odd about this, is you could have back-channeled Belichick long before we got to this point, which is coaches fired, 6 teams now looking for new head coaches. Listen, maybe the Raiders had to literally play this thing out to week 18, but then I would say to them, that is you not planning for the future. That is you not being able to see 5 inches in front of your face. If you could have talked to Belichick at any time and you decided not to until now, when he's less than a month into the new gig.
But use common sense. Nobody in that building wanted Tom Telesco doesn't want Bill Belichick coming along. So why would the people?
It's not Tom Telesco's world anymore, and I think that's very clear.
Think of who runs the Raiders. Like, nobody in that building, except Tom Brady, who's actually not in that building. Nobody in that building wants Bill Belichick sniffing around.
Sure.
Like, they're not going to call him in weeks. Antonio Pierce doesn't want him. Tom Telesco doesn't want him. Mark Davis is an owner. He's probably on a different sphere. So it would have had to been Brady and Davis to do this 4 weeks ago. And you're right, they didn't.
I know, but I think this stuff happens at the ownership level a lot more than we think. Like, who was Belichick meeting with, right? It was Arthur Blank, who's the owner of the Falcons. And then the front office guys are the ones who put the kibosh on it because they don't want Belichick coming in and doing it his way. And probably they're all fired and all of that stuff. So I just find it funny that just NFL teams have no foresight. Belichick's been out here. He's doing McAfee. He's on every single platform. You could have talked to him at any time just to gauge his interest.
But I don't think their interest is as strong as maybe it should be, like, because they want to interview a bunch of other guys too. If it really was Belichick, then why do they seem to be interested in a lot of other people too? Like, their first requests were Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I think Brady, a couple things. So the report yesterday, NFL Network, multiple teams, including the Raiders, and Tom Brady specifically, did reach out to Belichick to see if he would just about face on North Carolina. Just, I no longer want to be HC of UNC. Would he do the same thing they did to the Jets? Think about it. Bill Belichick even back-channeled to the Jets, a team he absolutely loathes, an owner he openly mocks. He back-channeled that before he took the North Carolina job. This dude wants to be in the NFL. He took North Carolina as the consolation prize.
Right, so I'm sure, how do we know that he didn't back-channel the Raiders?
I mean, I don't think Brady, I guess, was actually approved, technically, until very recently at the most recent owners meetings. I don't know. I always think these guys are playing 3D chess, and it turns out they're not. They're playing checkers.
Also, I think Bill Belichick's a very realistic person. You're right. He realized the perfect job was not there, so he took North Carolina. I don't know. If I'm Bill Belichick, I am not excited to be the Raiders head coach because, I don't think he wants to lose again.
So that's interesting, right? Let's do an alternate universe here. We used to do the multiverse of Maggie and Perloff. We still dabble. What if Bill Belichick took the job as the Raiders head coach? Now, he's basically put it out there. He doesn't have a lot of interest. He's on the recruiting trail now. It's not going that great, according to scouting services.
He stole a guy from UConn yesterday. But
he did.
Generally, it's going pretty poorly. But go ahead.
UMass, UConn, Delaware, and the backup quarterback at Purdue.
He got a baller out of Holy Cross, apparently.
Yeah, that guy's a center. He's got 1,500 snaps.
That is such a Bill Belichick player.
Is Kemba Walker and Bob Cousy coming to North Carolina? What's going on here?
No, but they had a guy named Joe Dudek who actually got Heisman hype about 25 years ago. But wait, we get to your point, Maggie. You were about to say, what happens if Belichick is the Raiders coach? Because I have a strong opinion on what would happen.
I think it's good. I think it would work. I don't think, and here's why. First of all, you need a quarterback, but who took pick 199, okay, and developed pick 199? So here's a problem, I think, with a lot of NFL teams right now. The head coach and the general manager sometimes seems like they've never met before. And I think that may have literally happened with Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco. I have no idea if they had any crossover whatsoever. Pierce was hired, then Telesco was hired. Guys get hired on different schedules, and the GM and the head coach sometimes are not simpatico. Sometimes they are, and you can see how it works. Buffalo, for example, it works there. Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott worked together at the Carolina Panthers. Now they're doing their thing in Buffalo. Sometimes it can work, but a lot of times I think you have competing interests naturally between the two positions, and guys don't have a lot of connection. The ultimate connection. The ultimate two guys who can not only get along, even if they don't see everything eye to eye, who can put things aside to win football games, who, no matter how it ended in New England, still at every turn just say how much respect they have for each other. These two dudes, Brady and Belichick, that is, teaming up again, they both see football the same way because Belichick taught Brady that.
That is such a fantasy that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are going to build. Tom Brady's not the GM. He's not even the team president. He's a partial owner. So is Richard Seymour. So is Serena Williams with the Dolphins. I don't even know what you're talking about. So you think they're going to sit and build a team together like architects? Tom Brady and Bill Belichick?
I think Brady's definitely involved. I mean, to say, yes, he's a minority owner. I know he's not the GM, but obviously he's involved if he's calling Belichick. Obviously.
Here is the issue is not just that. Mike Mayock and John Gruden knew each other really well, and they drafted a bunch of guys that gutted this roster for 10 years, and they're still digging out from that. Like, Bill Belichick would come to this team, you said multiverse, they'd be 4-13.
How many Super Bowls did Mike Mayock create?
What's that?
How many Super Bowls did Mike Mayock, was he the architect of?
No, I'm just saying, but this is a Raiders roster that is still digging out from the Mike Mayock, John Gruden era. Like, look, you have no talent. Like, there's no possible way. Your plan is to find the next Tom Brady in the 6th round. Like, you're not going to win more than 4 or 5 games next year.
I didn't say they'd win the Super Bowl year 1.
Well, Belichick is not going to want to go and have a really bad losing season in Vegas. That would be terrible.
Well, here's the thing, though. If he's there for the next 3 years to stabilize things, okay, listen, the Chargers didn't have a great roster. Now, granted, they had a great quarterback. Jim Harbaugh comes in, they're a playoff team.
Oh, my God. They had Justin Herbert.
I get it. They have a quarterback.
That's a massive difference. No, that's not just a little detail. That's a massive detail. That's why he chose the Chargers. He had other options.
I'm just saying that in year 1, you can make incremental advancements. And I'm not saying Super Bowl year 1, but I'm saying it could work. And by the way, in that division, you want to bring a knife to a gunfight? With Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh, and you're going to hire some who-knows guy? I'd rather have Belichick in that quartet.
Yeah, who has basically his fist in a gunfight. Like, he has no tools to win games there. I look at the depth chart. Just pull it up, and you think Bill Belichick's going to want to coach that?
Listen, they need a quarterback. I know they.
It would go so bad and you're also discounting the organizational dysfunction. There's not an accident the Raiders haven't won since 2001. There's a lot going wrong in that building, and there's no way you could dig that out. 3 years. There's no way Bill Belichick wants to go somewhere where it's going to take 3 years to win.
Okay, but hold on. You mentioned the organizational dysfunction, and you're right about that. And nobody has any faith in Mark Davis and the Raiders, and it's just been bad. You're going to give me all these candidates, the Ben Johnsons, the Aaron Glenns, the whoever, all these guys who, yes, talented, super good at what they do, never been head coaches before, never had to build a culture before. That's just words to them. They've been part of a culture, part of one. But Dan Campbell runs that culture in Detroit.
Right. He was a first-time coach.
And he had been an interim, but yes, he was a first-time coach who went 3-13 and then started 1-6, and the organization still stayed with him. If you're trying to get things right from a culture standpoint, how could you not think Belichick is that person? I mean,
because you're the Raiders, and I don't know.
He's the only one who can break this cycle.
It just feels like it'd be bad. That particular team. And by the way, I don't think Ben Johnson is going to touch the Raiders with a 100-foot pole. I don't think, and honestly, I think Aaron Glenn, I'd be shocked if Aaron Glenn took that job too. I think he'd have much better offers. So I think they're going to have whoever's left. Nobody's going to want that job. It's going to be the last job taken. And I think Bill Belichick, maybe because he was desperate, he would have taken the Raiders, but I don't think this is a good spot. I think that would have gone badly.
855-212-4227. Would it work? Brady, Belichick teaming back up. I'll tell you this. It'd be the biggest story of the year, too. Now, that doesn't matter necessarily to Raider fans. You want the results. You don't care about the story. But if there was a way, and I'm not trying to gloss this, but you obviously need a quarterback. It's the number one thing they need. I don't know the path. I told you guys yesterday I think they should trade for Brock Purdy. I got laughed at by you. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is a realistic option because you have to trade up.
They're a little low in the draft, yeah.
You're picking 6th right now. You're going to have to pay a king's ransom to get Shedeur.
Yeah, I mean...
So, I don't have an easy answer for quarterback, and maybe that's the one thing where Belichick would say no thanks because you don't have a quarterback I can win with.
You say it'd be the biggest story, but think of the last couple years of Bill Belichick in New England. Like, they were a 1 o'clock game. Like, they were not... Nobody cared. Like when they played the Giants and it was like 6-3 or something, like I think people turned away pretty fast. I'm not sure the Raiders are must-watch TV with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady as a partial owner. Here's the gist of the argument. I think you keep blowing up this Tom Brady partial owner like he is sitting there and he's going to fix all this. I just don't think his role is nearly as big. You have him as GM, president, owner, coach. I'm actually shocked you haven't brought up the fact that he should put on the pads and go out there and play quarterback. I know your brain. You've definitely thought about it. Tom Brady, it's not 2000 in New England. He's not going to come in and turn the Raiders into a Super Bowl team. He also happens to be the color analyst for Fox.
Oh, get out of here. He's not going to be doing that past the Super Bowl.
I've heard he puts tons and tons of effort and time into that.
Yeah, I know. And that's not a good thing. He should start telling people he's mailing it in. And at least then we'd understand why it doesn't sound as good as it probably should.
He was, by the way, he's
getting better.
He's totally fine now.
He's getting better. But here's the thing. I think it's one and done with Brady. He'll call the Super Bowl. And I think that being involved in a team is going to speak more to him than telling us that you've got to, set up the run to get the pass game going. Like, I think Brady's gotten better as a broadcaster, but as far as these amazing insights that he was giving, I just don't think he's speaking the language of the common football fan. I think it's better for him to be amongst his own. There's some people who can explain the game really well to us, the audience, and there's some people who can't. Like Chris Collinsworth's amazing at it. Greg Olson's great at it. There's some guys who are just really good at doing it. I don't think Brady falls in that category. I think we're still giving him a lot of just, he's the GOAT, and this is cool whenever Tom Brady happens to even half tell a story. He's not even a great storyteller. He needs to be doing what he knows best, which is being around football people and inside of a team. That's where he gets the FU attitude. That's where he gets the chip on his shoulder. That's when you get the best of Tom Brady. Him in a suit, in a booth, it will only there's a ceiling on how good he'll ever be at that.
Yeah, I totally disagree. He's absolutely fine. I could care less if it's Greg Olson, Tom Brady, Tony Romo. I do enjoy Romo because he's so loose right now. But I think that he's going to stick with Fox, and he works really hard at that, and that's going to be his primary job. I have $40 million a year reason why, too. They're giving him a lot of money.
I know.
And he seems pretty content.
Well, so we're on this tangent about Brady. Yeah. We're asking you if Brady and Belichick in Las Vegas would work. I say yes. Perloff says no. But the one other part about this, I think Brady is the kind of guy, it's about wins and losses with him. And we do this for a living, so we know. The only way you really get judged in broadcasting is really like, how do you feel about the game? How do you feel about the broadcast? And how do your bosses feel about the broadcast? You can go to ratings, whatever, but those numbers can all be fudged. I don't think Brady operates that way. I think he is the kind of guy who needs a winner and a loser. And in broadcasting, it's a lot more nebulous. It's a lot more taste. And you love Romo, and I might not like him, but I might like, I might love Troy Aikman, and you might not love him. It's all subjective. Right. I think Brady needs either a win or a loss to feel validated, and he's not going to get that in broadcasting.
Well, I would definitely do a show bet that he's back as a broadcaster next year.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
I'll dress up as part of the black hole.
For you. Done.
The big spikes and all that stuff. I don't know how we even get one of those costumes. Maybe Amy Trask can help us.
I would start shopping for it now because I firmly believe he'll be back.
I think he's gotten a taste. He's getting a little taste of this team building thing, and I think it revs the engine in a way that broadcasting's not going to do for him.
Okay.
He wants to sit there and talk about Jameis Winston? No. No.
Yeah, just get the spiked shoulder pads back.
I'm going to start buying you silver and black face paint. 855-212-4227.
The horse is prepared for battle.
Tom Brady wants to be up there talking about Baker Mayfield. He doesn't. He wants to be designing ways to beat Jim Harbaugh. Well, maybe not Jim. He's a Michigan guy. Patrick Mahomes.
Brady loves this broadcasting thing. Every player loves this broadcasting thing. It's the easiest job on earth compared to what he used to do.
I don't know. I didn't see Joe Montana do it for a really long time, did I?
That's because he got fired.
Well, I know Brady's not going to get fired, but.
Also, Brady, I watch Sunday Ticket. I can't tell. Brady sounds like every other guy. And even he sounds like Olsen. Their voices are all quite similar, which is funny to me. They're all like former quarterbacks who say the same old stuff. Most fans, 90% of the fans don't care. We're in the media, so we pick apart these guys.
I'm saying Brady cares. I'm not talking about the audience. The audience is fine. I don't. Yeah, you're right. I don't think anyone tunes in or tunes out of a game because I think Brady's not getting the fulfillment out of the broadcasting that he would being part of a team with a chip on his shoulder. We're gonna win this thing. We're gonna do this.
Where should we make Maggie walk around in the Raiders uniform?
Times Square
or Perloff.
It's not gonna be me. Brady's coming back.
855-212-4227. All right, got two things there for you. Do you think Brady and Belichick would work with the Raiders? And then also, do you think Brady is coming back next year, if you have a thought about that? Fake laugh. You don't have to fake laugh when you're picking quarterbacks.
I don't know. Those draft interviews be kind of weird. Yeah, I think there is a lot of fake laughing.
Oh,
if Hard Knocks taught me anything. Those pre-draft interviews.
Oh, they're totally awkward. Yeah. So what's your biggest weakness? I'm a perfectionist.
I care too much.
You guys were ripping Lamar. I'm too excited for the playoff games. I just want to win too badly. You're like, wow.
What an admission.
What a loser.
No one said that. 855-212-4227. Okay, lots to do today. Lots of news. Was that the fake laugh for Deion? Yeah. That was a room full of reporters giving Deion a courtesy laugh. We got Deion news, by the way. Deion Sanders news. College football playoff game tonight. Perloff repping Penn State. Man, are you going to stand for that? You're actually a Penn State fan.
Depends on how the rest of the show goes. We'll figure it out about 9 o'clock Eastern, how I feel about this.
Classic Perloff, jumping on the bandwagon the last minute. I don't even think you're picking Penn State in this game, but you're wearing the sweatshirt.
Manny knows there might be a twist on this uniform.
Oh,
we had a little pre-production call ourselves.
Yes. I didn't know. Oh, man, I'm the last to know. 855-212-4227. Raider fans, you want Bill Belichick? Make him a Godfather offer. Maybe he would turn on UNC. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. I'm looking at a list of the Dallas Cowboys' schedule for next year.
Okay.
Because we have a new show bet. We have some other ones to clear up, which we'll get to this year, we promise. will Tom Brady be a broadcaster next year? And I'm looking at which game he will be calling week 1 for Fox. I think the Cowboys versus the Vikings, 4:25 Sunday, Fox. The bet is if Tom Brady is broadcasting week 1 of the 2025 NFL season, then I win, and Maggie has to dress up like a member of the Black Hole and walk somewhere embarrassing. And if Tom Brady retires and decides I want to really full-time quasi-run the Raiders, then I have to dress up like a member of the Black Hole. So I think a lot depends on this offseason. Does he love this ownership thing? But I am pretty confident that he will stick with broadcasting. I don't think he wants to be viewed as a broadcasting loser like Jason Witten and call the Super Bowl and then say, I'm never doing this again. So I think and also he's under contract, and I think he loves it, and he's totally fine as a broadcaster. He's not exceptional, but he's whatever.
Okay.
So I say 425. Once he says, welcome to Dallas Stadium, let's go, week 1 next year, I win the bet.
Yeah, I think I'm winning this one. I think you're way too confident. This was just a couple months ago where we actually thought Bill Belichick may have been getting the handle on this media thing. These guys don't respect the media and love the media the way that we think so. They're putting it on because they're doing a job. Once you give them a taste of the actual football again, that's what gets the juices going. Let's not forget, this is Tom Brady. It's a guy who retired for 30 days and came back. He doesn't care what everyone else thinks about him. And I don't think that he's
Tom Brady doesn't care what everyone else thinks about him? That's the exact opposite of Tom Brady.
I don't think that if he is a one-and-done broadcaster and does the Super Bowl, I bet he'll probably get pretty good marks for the Super Bowl, and then he'll walk away and say, this was my choice. I mean, he's not going to, like, I don't think that he would just say, listen, I tried it. I gave it my all. I did my best, and you know what? I actually like this team-building thing, or I want to see if I can help the Raiders. I don't think his heart is into this. I think he's doing the work because he doesn't know any other way, and that's his work ethic, but I don't think his heart is in broadcasting. I do not.
Yeah, that's great. So where should we make Maggie walk in this Raiders jersey?
Well, can I interject 1 second and just ask to clear a pre-issue that might pop up?
Yeah.
Because people started tweeting yesterday, or I guess 2 days ago when the story came out that Brady was going to be involved in the coaching search, that this is another proof of how involved he actually is in Raiders ownership, that he's not just hanging out. What happens if it's not his decision that he can't be in the Fox booth anymore?
Because, it's the NFL. Then yes. Maggie wins.
Maggie wins on that at that front as well?
Definitely.
Okay.
I don't think the NFL would step in for that. Thank you, Bogusch, I'll take all the help I can get on this one. I think I'm very right about this anyway.
You suck, Bogusch.
But I don't think the NFL is going to step in there. I don't. Maybe they would. I think they would let Brady.
They've debated it many times. Like, what was the last ruling they had? Like,
no, he can't be involved in certain meetings.
It was Tom Brady was a topic at the last owners meeting, I think.
This whole thing has been. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I still think, and also you guys are talking like Tom Brady is the entire Raiders thing. Like you actually said, Tom Brady and Bill.
He is.
You think they can recreate the 2001 Patriots like here? Like they're going to.
They got Richard Seymour and Tom Brady in the building.
Yeah.
One Drew Bledsoe away.
Sadly, they're wearing a suit. They're not. They don't have shoulder pads on. Yes, they have Tom Brady and Richard Seymour in the building. They're both in their 40s. They're not playing football. That's the problem. That's the gist of the problem. Although Brady might. I think that's what your angle should be. Like, should Brady come back? Because like they ain't getting Shador. They don't want Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers. I mean, come on, Tom, step on down. That I think is a bigger threat than him being the GM of the Raiders. Why would also too? They didn't fire Telesco. Like, what do you think? This guy is just sitting there? Like, who's? I don't understand what you think is happening in this building.
Listen, somebody's got to grind the tape on the what'd you say, the Bowling Green tight end yesterday.
Yeah.
That's where Telesco comes in. We want you taking the visits to Fargo while Tom Brady decides who's going to be the quarterback of the team and the head coach.
Can I make one more comment that you guys were all mad at me because I wasn't in awe of the Cooper flag dunk yesterday. I saw you, EJ, come after me on Twitter last night.
Don't move the goalposts.
Okay, because Tom Telesco he is dining out on the Brock Bowers pick like crazy. Brock Bowers is a really good young tight end.
Yeah.
He's the only dude to throw to. Of course, he had 180 catches. Who else are you going to throw to on that team?
Well, Jacoby Myers did have a
catches
career.
Catches are the most overrated receiving stat of all time. But like, he had 1 million targets too. He's really, really good. But drafting Brock Bowers does not mean that he is the new Gil Brandt.
Which is exactly why they need Brady.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Well, I keep reading. Tom Telesco drafted Brock Bowers. He's on the right path. I just think like the people are always like they're going to buy the hype of the Raiders, and it just never, ever, ever works.
Well, this is why You got to hope Brady and listen, I don't think Belichick's coming back. Like, it'd be so he would look terrible if he turned his back on North Carolina in less than a month.
You know what would look even worse? Going 3-14 with the Raiders next year. They have a tough assignment. This team is not good. And they have a horrible schedule every year because they're in the AFC West. And the Broncos and the Chargers are just getting better and better and better.
Okay, well, if Brady didn't want any of the smoke, then we would never hear from him. If Brady didn't want the smoke, then he would just be, I'm a minority owner, but I'm just going to be a silent minority owner. We're getting reports that he's calling Belichick. He's in the building. He's going to have influence over who the next head coach is, probably the next quarterback. He's putting himself in there.
Great.
He wants it. So he's
yeah,
not
but he
shying
also
away.
wanted the smoke of the broadcasting, and in your mind, it's already done with that.
Yeah, I just think that was a dabble, and they get paid him so much money.
So
He
why
couldn't
wouldn't this
say
be?
no.
Why wouldn't this be a dabble?
It might be, but I think it's his new. I think it'll be his new thing. Get the engines going a little bit. But now we have a new show bet. We have a show bet. If Brady's in the broadcast booth next year, I have to dress up like a member of the Black Hole. If he's not, then Perloff has to dress up like a member of the Black Hole.
Okay.
And everyone in the black hole wears pants. I just want to set that, I want to put
But
that
they're
out
very
there.
tight, Bogusch.
There are no short shorts in the black hole.
They're football pants.
Yeah.
That's
Those do not leave a lot to the imagination, unfortunately for you.
But again, you could buy a size up. Okay. Don't wear your wife's football pants. Okay.
Bogusch, how selfish of you. You're only thinking about how this bet will impact you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, all football pants are kind of embarrassing if you think about it. The men, they wear tights.
I know, but they still hide things that need to be hidden. Nothing's falling out onto my shoulder.
I don't know. Did you see Derrick Henry this year when his pants got pulled down?
No one's going to pull your
run.
pants down.
Remember that run where Lamar had to hold his pants up as he was running and he
Again,
still got 30 yards?
No one's going to grab at your pants.
Yeah.
There's no
defense here.
innate danger in your pants. Your shorts are a problem.
He just showed his butt.
I could see Manny cutting that. Nobody's going to grab at your pants, Perloff. It's not high school all over again.
Yeah, I'm sure that was going down all the time. Meanwhile, D in Portland says, I still have a show bet to clear up, though.
Jets.
I thought that I was in the clear. I thought Perloff. Oh, no, I'm not in the clear. I have,
you have
a
Waffle
Waffle
House.
House bet.
Yep.
Perloff still has to drive to San Antonio. We put that bet on the back burner because of Greg Popovich's health.
Yeah.
We didn't want to call and start asking silly favors from the team when they were dealing with that. D, what's up, dude?
Good morning. Yeah, it was that bet that you had Jets going to playoffs. What kind of stuff were you smoking that day, Maggie?
Me and everybody else. Yeah, that was a bad one. I picked them to win the AFC East. What a dope I am.
So wait, but what was the bet? I don't remember a bet.
The bet was if I lost, I would send you guys a Rudy Fernandez jersey, which, by the way, I'll still do it. I just need a P.O. box and whatever. And if Maggie lost, you guys would have sent me your guys' merch or whatever if you guys wanted to. That was the bet.
D,
So,
I'm happy to pay off. I'm a Maggie always pays her bets. I'm going to put you on hold. EJ's going to grab your address, and you can just ask Phil and PA. We're good on this. We'll send you the merch. We sent Phil this big care package along with his Randall Cunningham jersey that he let us borrow for 2.5 years.
Do we want a Rudy Fernandez jersey?
Hell yeah. Who's turning that down?
I don't know. It's kind of random.
Love it. I got a Fred Jackson jersey behind my shoulder. You want to talk about random? You had a ball signed by Mikal Bridges when it could have been Jalen Brunson. We love random around here.
Mikal Bridges is a star. Rudy Fernandez is a player. Like, I don't actually remember.
I think Mikal Bridges went 1 for 10 last night.
He's paid like a star.
They all are now.
Yeah, welcome to the NBA, Perloff.
Man, that was a good game last night between the Thunder and the Cavs. I'm assuming Bogusch has that in this update.
All this update is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Yes, it was the first time in NBA history that a team on a 15-game win streak met a team on a 10-game run. The Thunder and Cavaliers a combined 61 victories as they came together in Cleveland last night, and the game did not disappoint.
Garland looking. Garland now dribbles to the top of the three-point arc. Backs up, 30 to go. Garland into the paint, floats, automatic!
Tim Alcorn on Cavs Radio. Cleveland took the showdown 129-122, extending its win streak to 11. Cavs head coach Kenny Atkinson enjoyed it.
I think it had playoff atmosphere, playoff competition. Guys were competing. I felt like there was no extracurricular stuff. It was just like pure basketball, pure competition.
Jared Allen led the Cavs with 25 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals.
I have a new favorite player off last night's game.
Ty Jerome.
Well, no. Yeah,
Iona Prep High School getting a shout out.
Right.
Yeah, I did see that.
New York City, baby.
I actually thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, man. No, Jared Allen's post-game interview, he is as big a nerd as I am, and I love every second of him.
He is.
He is the NBA's ultimate nerd.
Well, Bogusch might know him a little bit if you were doing Nets games when he was here for a while.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Oh.
Can you imagine Kenny Atkinson, Jared Allen in the New York City spotlight? That'd be amazing for them.
Those two dudes give a new meaning to low key.
I went on a YouTube, after I watched the game, I went on a YouTube journey with Jared Allen talking about Lord of the Rings in multiple interviews. I'm telling you, this guy is dorkier than me.
He looks like he shops at H&M or Amazon.
Wait, but it's not cool to shop at H&M. That's
Nerds go there?
for me.
Well, I mean, people who have money like Jared Allen probably shouldn't shop at H&M. People who have Manny money shop at H&M.
Well, it's funny because people were making fun of Jared Allen's outfit when he was at the All-Star game a couple years ago. And Perloff's like, I don't understand why they're making fun of his outfit. We did a side-by-side. You were literally wearing the exact same thing as him. It was like, who wore it best, you know?
Yeah, I thought his outfit was just fine. That's what I'm saying.
Great.
He's me, and he's a 7'4" athletic version of me.
Different hair. His fro is so cool.
Yeah, but mentally, watch him.
Was that the Cavs JV team last night? How was he like you?
Oh, sick burn.
Because he's obsessed with Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, and he apparently all he does is sit and read in the locker room. He's awesome. Also, by the way, he was pretty good last night. That game was, Maggie, you tweeted, if this is the finals, I'm good with that. It was
You'll
okay.
get Knicks Thunder and you'll like it.
I don't know. Was that game really that exciting?
Down.
Thunder Cavs, is that star power? I was thinking from an NBA standpoint, it's are they really going to want to see Darius Garland coming down the lane and Shai Gilgeous hogging the ball? I just don't know if that matchup's going to work.
Oh my
This
goodness,
is where
what a
I hate us, and I hate our business, and I hate this angle. We're talking about Tom Brady. Is he going to be in the booth? We think of things through a media lens. Yeah. The media will crush it. Mad Dog will get up there. If you don't have New York and LA, no one's going to watch.
I'll tell you, Maggie.
Give me Mad Dog saying Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for a 7-game finals.
But it's going to be him and Cowherd, and they're all going to have the same take that they always have about how no one's going to watch because it's small markets. And listen, I get Milwaukee and Phoenix when they were in the finals. It didn't do gangbusters, or I get Denver and Miami. But just watch the game last night. That was fantastic basketball. That kind of basketball brings people back to the sport. People who left it thinking the players are too powerful or the sport's too woke or whatever you want to say, watch that game last night. Tell me you didn't enjoy that. It's awesome.
It was fine. Give me Wemby. Give me Zion. Give me something. That's two solid teams.
I gave you Wemby on Christmas. You said, no, NFL. That's what I want to watch. I want to watch,
I did
get blown out by 30 points and Russell Wilson struggling to get past the 50-yard line.
But do you really think they were trying to sell Shai last night big time? Is it he's a pull-up jumper guy. I don't know. He's basically DeMar.
Always goes in.
No, Maggie, I gotta have this.
It's like watching DeMar DeRozan on
They
a huge
compared him to
screen.
Michael
See you guys
Jordan
next
last
hour.
night.
No, I gotta have this, Maggie. This is why people behind this glass and there are certain NBA fans can't stand this because
he's a mid-range player. This is my least favorite kind of player.
Okay, so all we hear the whole time, this whole part about what's wrong with the NBA.
Too many threes.
There's too many threes. Where's the mid-range? Where's the pull-up?
I don't say any of that crap.
Where's the guys going? And then we have the best player in the NBA right now, arguably, basically lives exclusively in the mid-range. Goes to the cup all the time. He's always driving to the basket. And then it's, well, do we really want to see it? It's like, these guys can't win. They can't.
He's very fun to watch, bro. You got to admit.
I take Zion on one leg is more exciting than any player on that court.
Zion has one leg. That's the problem. He didn't play
not
again last
available.
night.
Give me
It's a
some
pipe
athleticism.
dream.
Give me there was once in a while Donovan Mitchell will have a cool dunk, but generally that team is okay, Shai's going to come down. He's not going to pass. He's going to take a 14-foot jumper. Boring.
Come on.
There's 3 guys named with the same name on the team. And the Cavs. You really think this Cavs team is exciting
Donovan
to the
Mitchell is
public?
one of the most athletic players in the
You're
NBA.
crazy.
One of the most exciting players in the NBA.
If you were trying to sell this Cavs team, then you guys
were
just
just
are not.
hating on
You're not
Jared
in
Allen
reality.
4
You're not in
seconds
reality.
ago.
Yeah, I love him because he's a nerd. But there's no Q rating with the Cleveland Cavaliers of 2025. You think that that's going to bring fans back because the style of play was no.
Wait, hold on, Perloff, though.
Yeah.
There's one thing that you absolutely love. I know this about you because I've been sitting next to you for a long time. You love the Steve Kerr 100 passes, right? You love moving the ball. You love finding the open man. You love basketball being played at a high level. That's what we got last night. They were finding the open man, the right guy, those extra pass, all of it. It was all there.
No, Shea never. She doesn't even pass. There's no passing. And the Cavs, like, for some reason, Mobley and Jared Allen pass to each other. But Shea, like, the Thunder do not move the ball. I bet you their pass number is way below the Warriors. And that's, by the way, that's a big reason I'm not sure the Thunder are going to be in the finals. They do not move the ball as well as they should. That being said, like, this is not, like, Vince Carter's my favorite player of all time. This is the opposite of Vince Carter. This is like solid mid-range play on both sides.
It's not a dunk contest. We're talking about in the finals. What do you want to see, right?
I want to see I want to see like big stars going mano a mano. And I don't think this. Do you think this Cavs Thunder series would do that? I think you guys are just
Vince
wrong.
Carter was literally a participant in probably one of the most forgotten finals that ever existed. Spurs Nets.
Who played? Oh, the Nets. Yeah.
Nobody ever.
VC wasn't in that one.
I thought he was in one of them.
he wasn't.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, then he never was ever in the finals.
No, he never made the finals. Yeah, but I'm just saying.
He played for a team that was in a finals that everyone forgot.
I think you're making it like I think your point sounds good in theory, but in reality, as an NBA fan, to really like if you don't have any interest in the Thunder and Cavs, you're not like, oh my God, what a dream matchup! I get to see the Thunder and Cavs. Come on, you want to see LeBron? You want to see like something different than that. These are two very, very good teams, but they're not exciting to me.
This is why I'm serious. Like this is I know
this
there's
is tough.
There's another side, and Pearl represents a side that is out there. But like there's a side on this side of the glass, and a lot of NBA fans see this, and they're just disgusted because it's just like there's nothing you can do. Like,
this is the same Cavs team that's been here for 5 years,
We
EJ.
talk about how we need to move him or he's not playing in the post enough. I can give you Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a guy who goes to the paint all the time, who lives in the mid-range. It's like, well, is that exciting? I can give you LeBron and Steph all the time. You say, well, we see this all the time. There's nothing the NBA can do, and this is why a lot of NBA fans are upset right now because it's like there's nothing they can do. Like there's something else underlying about why people are out in the NBA, and it feels like the JJ Reddick's of the world, these people keep talking about it. And then a lot of older fans want to scoff and be like, "Oh no, it's something else." There's nothing they can do.
Can I tell you
we
another?
all want Steph, but everybody wants Steph.
Well,
that's totally different. You're dead wrong on that one.
How many more years is Steph going to be playing?
That's why we don't care anymore because Steph's getting old and LeBron's getting old.
Well, I mean, the league can't fold up. They can't just shut down once these two guys retire. You got to develop the next stars.
It's just a cycle. Like Jordan went away and it got boring, and the Spurs came in and gutted the league for 10 years. There'll be somebody exciting new, but it definitely ain't these two teams.
Watch 1980s basketball and watch those Lakers-Celtics series. You'll see nobody playing above the rim, nobody taking threes. That's all guys playing in the mid-range, passing the ball. And then now it's like, well, we want highlights, we want alley-oops, we want dunks. It's like but that's not what got the NBA back to their level, though. That's my point. Is that
I was a huge Lob City fan. Go Clips.
That worked out well.
They did great.
A lot of finals.
They didn't even get to the Western Conference Finals. That I know.
I'm not saying they won. I'm just saying I found that entertaining.
Oh, nobody watched the Clippers, really.
Blake Griffin.
No,
oh, God.
Who was hurt all the time.
That right into my veins. I loved that team.
The other part of this, too, is they're going to say, oh, big market, and the Knicks are going to get in. People are going to say, oh, the NBA is better when the Knicks are there. And everyone's going to turn on the Knicks so fast because fans are so annoying. It's going to happen.
Hey, guys.
Oh, they play defense. Oh, what's the man?
Tibbs, is he burning everyone out?
Villanova.
The NBA cannot win right now.
But no, the Knicks are super hateable. I think that would be entertaining. Like everybody would.
Well, they hate the fans. I don't think they hate the team.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the Knicks would be like the villain.
A bunch of scrappy guys from Villanova. You can't hate that. 855-212-4227. All right, we got to take a quick break. Coming up, we do have some 49ers news for you. Big personnel decisions being made by the team. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Thunder and the Cavaliers. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, talking about whether or not that'd be a good finals matchup or does it lack star power. Let's get to the 49ers for a moment. You can weigh in on that, by the way, at 855-212-4227. But let's get to the 49ers because yesterday they made some personnel moves. They have released Javon Hargrave, who not 2 years ago, Pearl, was one of the big signings and a big offseason acquisition along that defensive line. It was a lot of money. It was touted as a fantastic signing. Now they're saying goodbye to him. But more importantly, perhaps, John Lynch saying that Deebo Samuel will not be cut. They still value Deebo as a member of the team, even though they've been trying to trade him for the last couple of years. But he will not be a cap casualty. Were you surprised?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I figured Deebo would be done. Like, what does he have left? Nothing. He was so bad this year. I mean, he was outright bad. There were times he couldn't get around the corner. Then at the end of the season, maybe he got healthier because he had one really good game. I actually can't remember which game it was. Like, oh, Deebo can run again. Oh, I think it was the Miami game. His rushing average fell from 7 yards a carry to 3 yards a carry or something. He's washed.
Well, they were asking him to do a lot because he was one of the only playmakers besides Kittle, and Jawan Jennings got hurt. Pearsall had a crazy season. Ayuk's out for the year. I mean, they asked Deebo to carry a lot of the load, too.
Well, I mean, I don't think he carried the ball a lot more last year, actually. I just think he slowed down.
Maybe
I mean,
he did.
Okay, sorry. Last year he was 6.1 yards per carry, and he had 225 yards. This year was 3.2 yards per carry, 136 yards. It was noticeable.
Well, yeah, because he didn't have McCaffrey also like taking some of those carries.
I know. I think it was because he looked slow. Well, I think like there were edges where normally I was like, oh, Deebo's going to get around that guy, and he just didn't this year. And I mean, I know the Niners press said the same thing. But we watched this Netflix special. The guy is held together by glue. I mean, he has physically gone through so much.
Remember when he had to leave the game because he got sick and ended up in the hospital for a couple days with pneumonia? I mean, again, I'll go back to this 49ers season. I'm tempted to just flush the whole thing. Now, I know they're making lots of changes of defensive coordinator, special teams. I believe they actually even have a new offensive coordinator. Clay Kubiak, I think, is going to be the offensive coordinator, but obviously Shanahan calls plays, so maybe that doesn't matter. But aren't you tempted to just flush that whole season and just say, you know what? Yep. Everything that could go wrong went wrong for the 49ers. Yeah. It's not indicative of anything bigger. Championship window still open. They just had an all-time bad luck season.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all-time. It's the same exact season as 2020. It's literally almost went to the Super Bowl and just completely fell apart the next year. That one was even worse with injuries. That was the worst possible scenario. Every single player got hurt. But this year it was very similar. And then there was a junction point that year. They lost to the Bills in 2020 and then just fell apart for the rest of the season. This year, I think they lost to the Bills again, right?
They did.
Everything fell apart. So, yeah, I agree. It's a total flush thing. I just worry about the defense just getting mediocre. Like, who are they going to hire a defensive coordinator? I don't think they've hired anyone yet. It just feels like all of a sudden that superpower they had is gone. And Fred Warner is not getting any younger. And
yeah, but he's not old. He's still in his 20s.
Yeah, but I mean, for a linebacker, I don't know. I just worry that, like, are they going to maximize this window on the defense? Forget about the offense. Shanahan will figure that out. I'm not worried at all. But they keep on falling in the defensive rankings year. Like, how are you going to fix that? Javon Hargrave obviously didn't fix it.
No, they're saying that they are going to work really hard, though, to get a long-term extension with Dre Greenlaw, who's coming off the Achilles, obviously lasted one game and then had another issue pop up. Obviously,
I can't
overcompensating. But here's the thing where that the 49ers have under their control is they can make this offseason a lot smoother than last year. Mm-hmm. Something like Ricky Pearsall, that you can never see coming. He gets shot and survives, and thank goodness. But in terms of the contract stuff, they can make this go a lot more smoothly if they wanted to. And it's going to be Purdy. They're going to have to make a decision. All sides are saying they want it to happen quickly, but will they actually come through on that? Because I'm sure they wanted to get Nick Bosa done quickly, and that thing lingered right up until the season. So,
yeah,
that's on John Lynch.
Yeah, also, too, like, you need a second pass rusher. Like, you actually, and I don't know where you get the money to get one of those.
We got college football playoff semifinal tonight. Penn State, Notre Dame, Orange Bowl in Miami. We also have injury news for you, some updates before Super Wildcard Weekend. Got a lot going on. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Amazing. Got a college football semifinal game tonight, and it's basically a pick'em. Welcome to the show, Maggie. Great, Andrew Perloff. Pearl, we were talking about this a little bit as we're leading up to this game. It's rare when you get a college football game with a spread this small, 1.5 points.
Yeah. There's like the Spider-Man meme, these two teams. They're both winning in bizarre, ugly ways so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, ugly or just kind of doing what they need to do. But yeah, anytime you have your quarterback throw for fewer than 100 yards, it's not pretty. But Notre Dame is a 1.5 point favorite, over under set at 45.5. So low for a college football game that doesn't include the Iowa Hawkeyes. So
I mean, by the way, Drew Aller has barely thrown for more yards than that either.
They don't have a very good.
They're not pushing the ball down. Like, we're not going to see. Unless both teams go totally, we're not going to see the air raid. This is the exact opposite. This is ground and pound college football.
Yeah, if you want a lot of passing, well, that's going to be the Cotton Bowl, more likely. That's going to be Texas and Ohio State, as way better receiving, way more dangerous receivers, especially Ohio State. But even still, Texas too, with Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond, these guys are have the ability to make big plays along with Jeremiah Smith. Tonight's game, not so much about downfield passing, but if you were going to give the nod, if anyone's going to be pushing the ball down the field, I guess you'd have to give it a little bit more to Penn State, although their wide receiver room has not been super impressive. Anyway, here's the question about tonight's game, because we all kind of think we know how this is going to play out. Great defenses.
Yeah, whoever fumbles last loses.
Teams trying to establish the run, get ready for a lot of special teams talk. Who does this game mean more for, though? Who does it mean more for, Penn State or Notre Dame?
I mean, I think it's obviously Penn State, because Notre Dame has been floating by on reputation for, 110 years. Like, what do they care? They're still Notre Dame at the end of the day. Penn State wants to be viewed as, they haven't been a big boy in like Ohio. It's always like Ohio State, Michigan, and then, the third team, Penn State. I think Penn State gets in a whole new echelon in modern college football if they win this game, where Notre Dame, because of the brand, is so strong, they're always on that echelon. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if they play this middling ACC Service Academy schedule. They still have their own network. They still have the gold helmets. Like, they are untouchable. Penn State, I think, needs this win to get into a new level of college football status.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree, because I think a lot of people look at Notre Dame and will only talk about, you play a cupcake schedule, you're only here because your brand is strong, and the last time we saw you in a national championship game, you got absolutely boat raced by an Alabama team where that game was over before the first quarter. I think it's important for Notre Dame to establish themselves saying, we're not just here because of our Golden Dome helmets and because, we are a national brand. We're actually going to win at this football thing too. Right. And in this kind of landscape where Notre Dame's never going to join a conference, I don't think, in football. So they're always going to be a 5 seed if the format stays the same. They would never have a first round bye. And I think they want people to say, we are always going to be the most dangerous 5 seed. We are always, it's not going to be the loser of the SEC championship game. It's going to be us.
Right. But even, by the way, the funny thing is, if they beat Penn State, like, I don't think that changes anything. I think that they would go and be massive underdogs to Ohio State, and people would be like, oh, this is 2012 all over again. Because let's face it, James Franklin, like, everyone thinks that's not a big win. To beat Penn State in a big game like that is not a program-changing win for Notre Dame in any way. Like, because James Franklin's so small in these big moments. Like, I think Penn State they're both, Notre Dame and Penn State have lucked out schedule-wise, because Notre Dame faced a backup quarterback in Georgia, and Penn State because had the crazy cold game against SMU.
Yeah.
And then Boise, by the way, just sort of started too late in that game. So I'm not sure that people are viewing either team as having established what they really want to establish. And I don't even think this game does it for Notre Dame. I think Penn State winning this game would mean James Franklin can beat a top 10 team, like a real solid top 10 team, where Notre Dame, if they beat Penn State, I think they're still going to be judged against Ohio State. And they lose like 42-17, then be like, it's same old Notre Dame.
855-212-4227. I know we're on in South Bend. We're on in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We're on in places that are Penn State and Notre Dame country. And to be fair, these brands are, Notre Dame's national brand.
Yeah, the biggest brand, arguably.
Yeah, sun never sets on Notre Dame fan base. And for Penn State, it's one of the bluest of the blue blood college football programs you can have.
Yeah, I mean, it's been up and down. Let's not lie about the scandal obviously changed the tenor of what Penn State football. When I was a kid, Penn State was way more elite than they are now. And also, too, they, like many teams, they got into the Big Ten, and it just has not been easy. Like the conference switch. I don't remember. What were they when I was a kid? Like Big East or something?
Here's the thing, though. They still consistently send impact-making guys to the NFL, though. So that's always been the thing about Penn State. Like, I'm watching your guy, Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's basically, in some ways, it's like a Penn State advertisement when he's running for 2,000 yards.
Right, but he was like kind of alone there, right? There wasn't a lot of stars. Remember, there was a team, a Penn State team. This was the peak of the modern, in the 90s, was undefeated, and they didn't even get a shot at the title. Nebraska won it that year in 94. They had pros everywhere. They had Kerry Collins at quarterback. They had Kyle Brady, top 10 pick at tight end. They had two.
Don't tell Jets fans about that.
Bobby Ingram. They had two pro receivers, like big-time pro receivers. They were awesome. They went undefeated. They didn't get a shot at the title. Then Joe Pa got old, I think, and the program took a big step back. Now it feels like they're climbing out, but I think a lot of people still doubt them, right? Like there's still that seed of doubt, and you know why.
Yeah, the James Franklin record against top 5 teams, 1-18. It's terrible. I mean, that number speaks for itself. I just don't know if he wins this game, does all of a sudden all that go away? I think beating this Notre Dame team would do yes, I do. Because really?
this is a legit big time team. It's so funny, and this is probably insulting to Manny's Penn State and Indiana Lions. I don't think that does the same thing for Notre Dame. I think beating this Notre Dame team does a lot for James Franklin, where beating this Penn State team doesn't quite do as much for Marcus Freeman.
I'm gonna disagree on that. Yeah. I mean, Marcus Freeman is still a relatively unproven guy who, up until they beat Georgia last week, was probably more known for losses to Marshall, lost to Northern Illinois, being able to be this awesome recruiter, but still a young guy. Weren't really sure, is he actually the Notre Dame head coach until he wants to leave it? Does he have this job sort of for life? I think that was all still question marks until last week. And then let's dive into that. You beat a Georgia team that looked nothing like the Georgia teams over the last couple of years, who was playing a backup quarterback who was making his very first start. And by the way, that was a close game until a sack fumble set you up in the red zone, and then you score on a kickoff return for a touchdown in the second half. And then held them off. Like, I'm not going to poke holes. Marcus Freeman was awesome in that game. He was great. But there's going to be another part of this where if Notre Dame continues to win, and I'm kind of surprised that this hasn't become more of a thing, you're probably going to lose both your coordinators. Denbrock and Al Golden, these guys have been awesome for Marcus Freeman. And when those guys leave, then you're starting, you go through what successful teams go through, which is you lose your coordinator.
Yeah, but are there a lot of vacancies? I mean, it's going
that's what
so
I'm saying.
late.
It hasn't happened yet, but win the title, and next year, guys are probably going to be.
They might be able to keep them because this thing is going so late.
But for how long, right?
Maybe a year. But one thing about Freeman, he's kicked up the recruiting big time at Notre Dame. Remember, Brian Kelly used to say, I got to go to LSU because I'm not allowed to recruit here. Then Freeman came in and just boom, they got up to the top of the class every year. So I think he was already having some success in that realm. And also, too, if you watch his halftime speeches and everything, he's got a little Dan Campbell. Like, he's awesome.
Guys love him.
Guys love him. He's sort of fan-friendly. He just seems really popular.
That's what I said. Notre Dame is likable now. It's crazy. I think Marcus Freeman is a big reason why. And Notre Dame used to be, you love to root for them. You love to root against them. I think people love Freeman.
Yeah, I'm not sure they love to root against him. Like, are they like the New York? Yeah, you should be right. Notre Dame, New York Yankees, Duke basketball. Then they kind of fell out of that realm.
Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, because they haven't won a title. What's last year? 78.
Well, that's why this is important. I think, and we're asking the question: who is this more important to? Would this win be more important to? You're saying Penn State. I'm saying Notre Dame, because you want to be a contender, not just, in name only. You actually want to show that the next time you get to this level, because they made it to the Final Four in the college football playoff, that didn't go well. And of course they got, as I said, slammed by Alabama in the national championship game, but that was over a decade ago.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing, but we all know that they're going to make it a bunch of times. Because unless Lincoln Riley figures out USC, that team's not beating them. And they're, I don't know who they're scheduled. They're just going to have a lot of Wake Forest, a lot of Maryland. No, actually, Maryland's in the Big Ten. But they're going to have a lot of average competition and get enough wins. And if they win this game, too, they'll be like Alabama, where the committee will always give them the benefit of the doubt. So Marcus Freeman's probably going to make this playoff every year. Is that fair to say?
Listen, you can't have a lot of losses to Northern Illinois. To their credit, they rebounded off of that, and I know they didn't have a great schedule, a very hard schedule, but they just destroyed teams in their path.
Yeah,
So,
it really
the longest winning streak in the country.
Laid out so perfectly. I mean, like the fact that Florida State is god awful, the fact that USC is very mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
they did go to A&M and win season opener. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
it is.
A&M's 8-5.
But you tell me all the time how hard it is to win in the SEC, how hard it is to win the SEC at night.
They're 8-5.
But you say that the SEC is the hardest conference and these are the hardest teams. So why would you give credit for Notre Dame for winning there?
Well, but that's not a top 25 win, so I'm not going to give them that much credit. Their schedule you can't argue this schedule was terrible. And Texas A&M certainly doesn't strengthen it. Give me top 25 wins. They just beat Indiana and a banged up Georgia, so we'll give them that.
855-212-4227. College football playoff tonight. Who does this game mean more for? Who do you have confidence in? Penn State, Notre Dame. You want to look ahead to Texas and Ohio State. We can do that as well. Do want to talk a little bit for a moment about the weather and what's going on in California with these fires. This has just been absolutely devastating. So the images coming out of this greater LA area and these fires, Perloff, look so apocalyptic, and we are just, it is very hard to watch, and our thoughts and hearts are going out to everyone who is dealing with this. I can't imagine how scary that must be. And the way that it intersects with our world is sports. So last night, the Kings and Calgary Flames game was postponed. I don't know if they've made a decision. EJ, maybe you can take a look on the Lakers-Hornets game that's supposed to be played tonight. And then obviously we look ahead to the Monday Rams-Vikings Perloff. The Chargers are on the road, we know, to play Houston, but they had some serious issues about practicing outside yesterday because the air quality has been so bad because of these horrible fires.
Yeah, I think I don't think the Rams game is going to happen. It seems crazy to me because it doesn't seem like it's going to get better by this weekend. Everything. And by the way, I have a couple friends who lost their homes. I feel so awful.
That is just horrible. Are they okay?
On. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what are you going to do. I mean, there's nothing like this reality that's there. It's but that's why I think just not like the Rams, even if there's no, let's say the air is fine at SoFi, people got to get there, right?
Yeah.
And also too, the city, I don't know, you have to put a lot of resources into organizing a stadium day.
Oh, you need cops, you need medics, you need all these things where those public services would definitely be better off elsewhere. They said they would move the game to Glendale, Arizona on Monday.
But it does suck to lose a home game. And that's why, for example, in New Orleans after the tragedy, I was glad they played the Sugar Bowl there, right? Can we agree that was a good thing? I mean, it worked out. To me, yes, you cannot pull, New Orleans people, I don't think wanted to lose that game. That's a huge tradition. You don't want to lose the game. So I do think
tourism you're talking about. I mean,
no, it's part of their identity. You don't want to imagine if your city had a Super Bowl and they pulled it out at the last minute. That'd be a tragedy. So,
well, there was a tragedy preceding it,
but you compound the tragedy by taking the game out, especially the Sugar Bowl. I mean, that would have been terrible. So I was actually really glad that they made it safe and were able to play there. And ideally, they're able to play this game in LA and the Rams fans can cheer there. I don't know if that's a huge
I just think everyone's mind is somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just a football game in times like this. It just feels so unimportant. And I can understand if you want to even go this way. I think sometimes we overstate the importance of sports because this is the amazing sandbox of life that we get to live in. But I don't know about the tragedy in New Orleans. And you can say, well, that turns the page and people maybe feel a little bit more back to normal after this horrible thing that happened on Bourbon Street. I guess, but sometimes, again, I think that's overstated. With what's going on in LA, I mean, this is going to be months and months to try to build people's homes, businesses back up. A football game just feels very, very insignificant right now.
Yeah, I don't feel that way. I think I really disagree about New Orleans. If you move that game, you let the bad guys win. Honestly, anything normal, bring it on. Like, don't let business walk out the door. The more activity and the more business you can bring to a city, like this is not a great analogy, but after 9/11, I was so psyched when games got back. Like, yes, like people.
But it wasn't the next day.
Yeah, it was too, but it's still like when they came back, it was great. People get to go back to work. Everyone wants to work. Everyone wants to go to the game. Like you just make it worse by pulling everything out of it. Like especially in New Orleans, I really think like if they had said like move the Sugar Bowl to Atlanta, like that would have been terrible. Like I think people there would have, if you had an open vote, I assume they would have voted to have the game. Yeah, if you can do it safely.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's obviously the number one thing is to do it safely. It's tough, and it's interesting to put the 9/11 analogy on it, just because you're right. You want to get back to a semblance of normalcy.
Yeah,
right?
It was awesome when games came back to New York. That was amazing.
Yeah, but there also can be, I think, times a little bit of not disregard, but for the people who are impacted by this really closely, their lives are never going to be the same.
No.
And what they're going through. In some ways, like I've talked to at least some players who played for the New York Mets, who played the Atlanta Braves in a very important for New York game after 9/11, a couple days after. Mike Piazza hits this big home run, and it's remembered as this very triumphant moment. And I've talked to some players who participated in that game, and they felt horrible playing it. They didn't feel like it was appropriate. They didn't feel like they felt like in some ways it was too soon. And I think there's two sides of this for sure. It's not just one way.
When Buffalo has their big weather things, like obviously you could make the argument that like, why are you going to put these resources into clearing out the stadium? I think it's incredibly important that those games are in Buffalo.
They moved games. They moved a game to Detroit 2 years ago.
I think it sucks. I think it's terrible for Buffalo. Like anything you can do to have that game. Like I think getting community together in those moments is more important. And I don't think sports is small in any way. I think it's huge. Like, and yeah, it'd be amazing to have a game in LA, a playoff game, if they could do it. Like, I don't know if they can do it, but yeah, it's so funny. I just feel like after a tragedy, like to try to get everyone together in a safe way it's even more important than a normal a week 6 Rams game. Who cares about this? But if they could get everybody together in the stadium and cheer for the Rams, that's an amazing community building event. And Buffalo, yeah, they did move that game, but like that stinks. Like Buffalo, like there's so much magic about that stadium. To lose that is a bummer.
Yeah, but it wasn't safe. And that's the most important thing. It's funny, I see sports as being less important in those moments. You see it as being more important as a community builder.
100%.
855-212-4227. Anyway, the bottom line is we are thinking about everybody in LA. This is just horrible, and hope that everyone's loved ones are staying safe.
I'm sorry. The less serious thing. I looked at Notre Dame's schedule for next year.
Yeah.
They do not have one team that'll be a preseason top 25 team. They are going to go an entire schedule of non-ranked teams. Unless you're Miami Hurricanes, EJ, can get a quarterback. This is going to be the easiest cakewalk in the history of the year. So if I'm Notre Dame, win tonight, great. Lose tonight, great. You're back there next year.
Who's going to be Notre Dame's quarterback? 855-212-4227. All right, we got college football playoff semifinal tonight, Orange Bowl in South Florida. Coming up next, we check in with our favorite college football coach. What did he have to say yesterday on Good Morning America? We'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exams, just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Getting ready for the big Penn State Notre Dame game tonight. Saw a funny video. I don't know. Did you guys see the video of they're interviewing fans? Who's better looking, Riley Leonard or Drew Aller? It was a landslide. Penn State quarterback Drew Aller is considered a hunk. Riley Leonard, not so much.
Do they look all that different to like a police sketch artist?
Book it. Penn State's winning the national championship.
Yeah, Drew Aller's kind of a pretty boy.
This feels weird.
I've never seen him. I only saw this video. I actually didn't even remember what Drew Aller looked like without his helmet on.
Well, Drew Aller still looks like he's 17 years old.
Yeah, he looks like Zac Efron in High School Musical. I know, which is funny because we're talking about Penn State's future. If he's too good, he's going to go pro. So they got to win without him throwing 5 touchdowns.
It's so funny. I thought you were just going to go, if we're going to who's better looking, and this is so shallow of us, but all right, we're here. Is it Marcus Freeman versus the world?
No. I mean, Freeman, that's a superpower of Notre Dame football. Like, they're elite. I was actually telling you in the break, their schedule's so easy next year, they don't even need a quarterback. They could just do wildcat every play and run through the Purdues and Navies of the world.
Yeah, but at least their head coach is scrumptious.
Yeah, no. I mean, you said everybody likes Motor. I mean, who is not? Watch Marcus Freeman at halftime. It's just like, oh my God, he's so. Are we that shallow?
He's so not Jared Allen.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, like
talk about catching a stray. That is the definition. How did Jared Allen get that shrapnel? He's fine. He just dresses a little like simple.
Penn State does have like him, so that's why.
So he doesn't wear a gigantic sweater like Kuzma.
Penn State does have their superpower, though.
What's that?
The Keegan-Michael Key, James Franklin impersonation.
Well, it's undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really cool thing, too. And wait, so what? And Keegan-Michael Key just always seems to be there on the sideline?
Well, he went there.
Yeah, he's a grad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My favorite thing is the run. Of all the, like, when he does the run, I don't know why.
He does James Franklin running out. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he does a run. Like, the speeches are funny, but when he does I got to go, and then he runs, like, full arms
wild
extended.
Arms. Yeah.
I don't even know what you're saying.
Let's go to Andy, who's in New Jersey. We're asking who needs this win more, Penn State or Notre Dame. Andy, what do you think?
Hey, guys. Good morning. I do think it's Penn State. We spoke when we had the question earlier in the year whether or not Franklin or Day was on the hot seat more, and I said Franklin because he just could not beat Michigan and Ohio State. I think it's a good run that we're on right now. You know, I'm not going to push Franklin over the top yet because we beat SMU and Boise. If we beat this Notre Dame, and I'm a BC grad, and my son goes to BC, and I've hated Notre Dame my entire life, but this is a different team, and I think a lot of it has to do with Marcus Freeman. It's a likable team. They're really, really well coached. I'm worried about getting out-coached tonight. But if Franklin can win this game tonight against this caliber of a Notre Dame team, I think it's going to help him a lot. I do think for Notre Dame, I think you're right, Permit. If Notre Dame wins, great. If they beat Ohio State, who I think is going to win the next game, then that's a different level for Notre Dame. But I think it means more for Penn State than Notre Dame, in my opinion.
Andy, thanks for that. Yeah. I mean, I think it means more for James Franklin. Maybe he is the most to gain or lose. We can talk about coaches.
Yeah.
I think of the 4 coaches left, I'll agree with you on James Franklin. The record speaks for itself, right?
Yeah.
It is 1-18 against teams ranked in the top 5, and obviously the devastating record 1-10 against Ohio State. But he can only play Notre Dame tonight. That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe James Franklin personally has the most riding on this, but you and I talk about it. Say James Franklin loses this game. He's not in danger of losing his job at Penn State. They're not replacing him. They would have already done it. If they were going to replace him, they would have done it already because of how the fact that he can't beat Ohio State and rarely beats Michigan.
Yeah, but we would make fun of him all next year. Like, it'd be Penn State's going to play Ohio State. We'd all be laughing. Oh, here we go. James Franklin's about to lose another one.
Okay, well, he's laughing all the way to the bank because he still gets to coach this team. I think the coach that has the most riding on this in terms of all 4 guys is Ryan Day. Because I think this Ohio State fan base is just waiting for a reason to jump down this guy's throat. They cannot forgive him for that Michigan loss. Even though
which one?
Right, all 4 of them. They can't. Beating Tennessee, it's like, I don't think it meant as much to the fan base as it means to the outside world. Then, of course, you go on and beat Oregon. I don't think it meant as much to the fan base as it did to the outside world. They are just waiting for him to lose so they can jump all down his back again.
Oh, yeah.
And so for that reason, I think Ryan Day actually has the most at stake.
I hear what you're saying, but he's going to keep his job too now that he's gotten this far. One thing I do think, narrative-wise, if Notre Dame wins this game and gets blown out by Ohio State, everyone's going to say, oh, the thing's just laid out, easy schedule for Notre Dame. They're going to say, Penn, who they really beat. That's going to be a thing, right? I'll tell you right now, it'll be a thing. Yeah.
No, I think that people respect this Notre Dame team. It's weird because the quarterback doesn't throw for a lot of yards. But he, to be fair, in the first round, he threw for over 200 yards, which is not a lot in college football. But
I think they would get, if they got blown out by Ohio State, huge if. They could, that'll be a fairly close spread. But if they got blown out by Ohio State, then nobody's going to take the team seriously. It's going to be Manti Te'o, Notre Dame all over again.
Ange Bogusch is here with headlines. You can still weigh in, of course, 855-212-4227. If you want to talk about who needs this game more, who does it mean more for, Penn State or Notre Dame? Bogues, what's up?
Guys, remember when UConn men's basketball went 0 for 3 in Maui? They hadn't lost since. 8 consecutive wins until last night at Villanova. The Fightin' Kerry Kittles with a 68-66 upset. And then we got the full Dan Hurley effect post-game.
What I told him to do, though, is, when he feels sad tonight, just get off the bus when we get back to campus and do what I did after Maui. Just pull your box of rings out and maybe just kind of play with your back-to-back national championship rings and get ready for Georgetown.
I love him.
That's a flex.
The nation's leading scorer, Eric Dixon, had 23 for Nova last night.
I don't think that's what he really did. I'm going to call BS on this. I think that Dan Hurley, after going 0 for 3 in Maui, probably went back to his office and destroyed it first. Just upended the entire thing and then watched tape for 100 hours in a row. I don't think he pulled out the national championship rings and was like, oh, yeah, no, I got this thing in the bag. That does not sound like him.
I thought he went home and said, we're never going back there. Like, he tried to have Hawaii, secede from the nation.
I think he probably called the Lakers and was like, is that offer still up or...
All right, Bogusch, you got to keep me updated on it. Do I have to jump back on the Villanova bandwagon? I thought we were awful this year.
No, not this year. Now 4-1, I think, in the Big East. Yeah, certainly in tournament conversation.
Where did their head coach before?
Fordham. You're welcome.
I thought everyone hated that guy.
They did until 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, because they were bad early in the season, I remember.
They lost at home to St. Joe's and Columbia? Yeah. But no, here we go. Oof.
They lost to Columbia?
Oh, for a second, I thought you meant they lost to St. Joe's in Columbia. Like, they went to Cartagena and played a game?
Exactly.
And Columbia.
And UConn can't beat this team?
Meanwhile, I love, Perloff, our Villanova Wildcats. You're wearing a Penn State sweatshirt, and it was not long ago when you were wearing a UNC hat.
Well,
you also claimed Syracuse.
My family a ton of family went to UNC Chapel Hill. That's fine. I was born in Syracuse. I grew up in Philadelphia. All these teams make sense. Wait, you're a Bills fan? You grew up 4 hours from Buffalo.
She's a Bills fan.
That's it, though. I don't claim any other team.
End of sentence.
That's it.
I was in Ohio once, so I root for the Browns. She's not saying that.
And I would never make that mistake.
Well,
sorry, Browns.
Which team do I not have a legitimate claim to?
Every team besides
you have a claim to Dartmouth.
Eagles.
How about
that? Why not Villanova?
No, you can have Villanova.
But you can't have Villanova
and
St. Joe's and LaSalle and Penn and all those. You can't have them all.
Nope. Philadelphia, you get the whole college team.
Thomas Jefferson University as well.
You absolutely do. So, wait.
Small school in Philadelphia.
If you're in LA, don't you get UCLA and USC?
No. These people are going through enough with these fires. Don't make them upset.
In Philly, you root for all the Big Five, unless you went to one of the schools.
I thought they're rivals with each other.
Right.
Yeah, if you went to one of the schools, you root against it. But you definitely are rooting hard for them in the tournament every year. All of them.
I don't see you pulling for Temple.
I love Temple. When Temple was good, Mark Macon.
When they were good.
When they were good,
yeah.
There it is. When they're good.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to? Am I going
to? Yep. Only when they're good.
Only when they're good. You'll see Perloff in North Philly.
That's why I started out the segment. I said, Bogusch, you got to tell me when to jump back on the Villanova bandwagon.
To be fair, he was clear about that. He wants to know the exact date and time.
You think I'm wearing a Penn State football sweatshirt if they lost to Boise? No way. What are you, crazy?
Meanwhile, he spent all season being like, Penn State could definitely lose to Boise in that first game.
I'm shocked. Thank God it was minus 30 for that game against SMU. Wait, you guys are so ridiculous. Like,
yeah, us.
You guys are like, you guys don't root for any. You're Mets fans, and it's like soured you. Like, you can enjoy multiple teams. We're sports fans.
Nah, you stick with one team. You get your team in every sport. Maybe I'll give you a different conference, but I don't even like that.
I think you can have maybe 2 college teams, maybe.
Right, where you went and maybe where you grew up.
Yeah, because I have that with St. John's. I love St. John's. I grew up 5 minutes away from the campus. I'm wearing a St. John's sweater, but obviously I also love Gonzaga basketball. So I think that's fair.
Yeah, and around here in particular, because we don't have a real high-level college football program, like I learned college football on the Big Ten because that was on my TV when I was growing up. So
and Notre Dame.
Yeah, so
who's your team?
I don't really care.
I thought you were like saying I
liked Michigan teams of the late 80s and early 90s, but I'm not like a Michigan fan now.
Wait. What about like a Michael Jordan effect where there's a singular player and you became a Bulls fan because he was so awesome?
I did that.
That's totally cool, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that.
But I didn't like the Knicks as well. I like the Bulls. I was a Bulls fan. I was happy when they beat the Knicks.
You suck, Bogusch.
I know.
See, I think if you're going to be there for Michael Jordan, you've got to be there for Eddie Curry.
I agree. Look, my brother
I was there
like
for Eddie Curry.
my brothers are weird. None of them like New York teams, even though they all grew up in New York. All of them like teams because of specific players, and they've all had to suffer through years of terrible, terrible teams because of it. Right? My brother's a Vikings fan because he loved Randy Moss, and then the Vikings got really terrible, and guess what? He just stuck with it. My other brother,
I like that. I think that's noble. If you want to be there for the peak, you got to be there for the valley. And by the way, it makes the peak sweeter again when you eventually get there.
He became a Giants fan because of Barry Bonds, and then they got really bad. But then guess what? He saw 3 World Series in 5 years. That's what made it great for him.
You guys are crazy. So you're telling me Jordan fans should be fans of like whoever's on the Bulls right now? That's insane. Nobody.
You got to be Kobe White.
Once Jordan left, it was like, okay,
now I'm on Perloff's side.
Yeah, okay.
You got to be riding with Billy Donovan.
No, spare me Kobe White.
Yeah,
no,
thanks. The second Jordan left,
you had to start
and the
rooting
Wizards
for
doesn't
Derrick
count
Rose,
either.
Tony Kukoc, and then on to Rose.
No.
You want me breaking down Zach LaVine trade rumors right now?
Yeah. You better be living and dying with Zach LaVine trade rumors.
Because I was obviously simultaneously a Sixers fan and a Jordan fan because I appreciate a man who defies gravity. I mean, like Jordan was amazing. Like you could do that. You could be a Patrick Mahomes fan and appreciate the Chiefs and love your team. Maybe not you because you're a direct rival, but as an Eagles fan, I love watching Mahomes, and I'm a huge fan.
You played them in the Super Bowl and lost.
Yeah, we all were hugging afterwards. That was like not a bitter game. It was like, man, we just lost to Patrick Mahomes. That was kind of cool.
Perloff was like that kid on Georgia that lost that game and then was hugging the Ole Miss fans.
And what did Kirby Smart call him? An idiot.
Back to me, great. Everyone except Pearl enjoyed it. The Cavaliers outscored the Thunder in their showdown in Cleveland, 129-122. So the Cavs' winning streak grows to 11. OKC's run ends at 15.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander
had 31 points in the loss. Now, maybe you preferred Wemby putting up just 10 points and 10 boards as his Spurs got steamrolled in Milwaukee.
Here's Lillard, slithers his way down the lane and gets past a couple defenders for the finger roll inside. You can see San Antonio right now seems to have almost lost their will.
Dave Kane, Bucks Radio. Milwaukee closing the first half on a 32-13 run. Didn't look back, cruising to a 121-105 win. Lillard scored 26. 25 for Giannis. The Ben Johnson sweepstakes get going today. The Lions OC beginning virtual interviews with the Bears, Patriots, and Jaguars. Chicago has a meeting today with Pete Carroll. Yesterday they chatted with offensive coordinators Mike Kafka from the Giants and Drew Petzing from the Cardinals. And the Bears and Saints apparently want to talk to Cliff Kingsbury.
Do these owners have
do they watch football?
No. Do they have unlimited time? Every team is interviewing 410 guys. What are they doing here?
I mean, Ryan Pace wasn't lying when he said we're going to talk to everybody.
Yeah, by the way, does Matt Campbell count as outside the box? The
Ryan
Iowa
Poles,
State
by the way, sorry.
Head coach.
Man, he should know since he's going to interview for that job.
Wait, did you say Ryan Pace?
3 p.m.
He's been gone for 4 years.
He's on a milk carton.
Yeah.
Ryan Pace, Ryan Poles. If they don't win, no one's going to remember either of them. But
yeah, Campbell's interviewed for NFL jobs before, hasn't he?
Definitely. So does that doesn't count as outside the box, does it? No, right?
Well, it does. It is a huge number of interviews. Like, how long do these interviews last? Just as far as
they said, the maximum it can last for the first interview is 3 hours.
Oh, it's a rule. It's an actual rule.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. The first interview, 3 hours, and that was like a limit. They capped it.
And they didn't even get McCarthy. He wasn't even allowed to talk to them.
What do you talk about for 3 hours?
I also think this is not a sustainable thing because I don't think a person who's actually invested like these guys are in the playoffs, I don't think a guy that's invested in his real team can actually give you 3 hours worth of insight on your own team.
And I'll take it a step further. From the fan perspective, I absolutely loathe this because you've got coordinators who are supposed to be getting ready for playoff games. You know, for example, Buffalo, you got Joe Brady, you got Denver coming in. Do you realize if you lose this game, you can kiss all of those interviews goodbye? So I don't really need you preparing to wow the Saints or whatever. Like,
absolutely.
Prepare. Sean Payton's about to come in and try to eat your lunch. How about that?
How about the fact that you're playing the Broncos and you have Josh Allen? What's the play call? Drop back and just run for 11 yards, dude. Joe, and you're playing Bo. I mean, come on. The fact you trying to pretend that you're nervous about the Broncos is ridiculous.
Well, whatever. Let's say,
this show should be called "Nothing Matters" with Andrew Perloff.
Well, I just okay. This show should be called
Villanova basketball is a big deal.
Versus
when they're good.
So you're on Maggie's team that you're sitting and panicking about the Broncos coming to Buffalo?
No,
guess what? The rest of America thinks the Bills are going to kill them.
I can be upset that their offensive coordinators preparing for 5 different interviews when he has a game to prepare for.
The Broncos beat no one to get here. They are going to get killed by the Buffalo Bills. I'm telling you that.
The Broncos are going to win.
What do you mean? They beat the Chiefs in the last week of the season.
Thank you, Manny.
38-0. It was a landslide.
We got to break another Carson Wentz poster out because of that game.
We'd have to break a billboard. I don't even think we have the budget. Thanks for jinxing my team, too.
The Bears interview. You know what? David Shaw is back in the interview mix.
Yes.
What the heck is that about? How many times has he interviewed for NFL jobs? And is he coached? When's the last time he coached?
He was working air quotes for the Broncos this year in their front office.
Was he really?
I don't know how active or busy
I was going
he
to say
was.
designing game plans.
Yeah.
It is outside the box. It's like outside the box in the fact that they're interviewing 655 people. This is nuts. And they don't do we have any idea who they're hiring? No.
Me.
Listen, why not Manny? No, and no idea. I think there's FOMO here. I think like the Todd Monken, that was one that we talked about this yesterday. Is it because they're interviewing Todd Monken? It's like, I didn't even think about Todd Monken. I thought we need to find the next Lamar Jackson, not the next Todd Monken, but maybe I was wrong.
Exactly. I see like this is that guy, if they're a smart team, they want to talk to him. We should talk to that guy. But
none of the teams that are picking coaches right now are smart.
I was going to say, that's why these teams suck. Like, seriously, like these are the same teams that keep changing coaches and GMs every 3-4 years.
Well, listen, maybe the Patriots have the ability to be smart. Let's give them a little. They did win for 20 years.
Sorry, there are 5 vacancies, right?
6.
6. Is Brian Flores interviewing for 6 jobs?
No.
Most of them, though.
I thought 5 out of 6.
I thought only 2 actually asked to talk to him so far, and he wants to interview for the Patriots.
Yeah, I know he said he will take any interview that comes his way.
He has to. He's suing the league, saying they're discriminating against people. That you can't say, well, I'm going to sit this one out.
Right.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson has been. I know the Jets did not reach out to Ben Johnson, but pretty much every team,
they quote unquote mutually agreed, not to have an interview.
So he said it, and they said, "Okay, fine."
Yes.
Anyway, it is. Maggie just nailed it. It's like you don't want to be the one who's misses anything. If you're an owner, they're so. Oh, God, they're so weak-minded.
See, I think it's the opposite. If you bring a guy in and you don't hire him, then he goes on somewhere else and is awesome. It's like, well, what happened? You had him in the building and you let him go.
Sure.
So in some ways, you get double criticized for it. 855-212-4227. Bogusch, thanks so much. Coming up, we will check in on our favorite college football coach. What do you say now?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Do you believe that? Deion. You believe that?
Check in on Deion Sanders because of Perloff. You mentioned it feels like dozens and dozens of head coaching candidates in the NFL, but Deion's name definitely not one of them. Still solidly committed to Colorado, but making an appearance on Good Morning America yesterday and said this about potentially coaching in the NFL.
The only way I would consider is to coach my son. Not son. No. Sons. Okay.
All right, how's he going to pull this off? So this is like a chicken and the egg thing, right? First, you got to see where Shedeur and I guess Shiloh would be drafted, and then congratulations to that coach. Now you've got Deion Sanders looking over your shoulder.
Well, I was thinking Bronny immediately. If LeBron can get Bronny to the NBA, then I think Deion can get Shiloh into the NFL. Now, every time I watch Colorado, Shiloh's a huge personal foul guy, right?
He's like a missile.
Yeah, he seems to get a lot of flags. I can't totally evaluate how good he is. I think he's a late round pick, right? So honestly, I'm surprised that nobody's like, well, like, let's bring in Deion and do. Why would the Raiders at least look at Deion?
They might. But can they get Shedeur? That's why I said it's chicken or the egg. First, you got to get Shedeur, and if you can, well, then now all of a sudden, whoever they hired to be their coach this year, good luck to you. Because if you don't coach well and if you don't get more out of this roster, then Deion Sanders' shadow is basically looming over you the entire time.
But he has to coach there right now to get both sons there, because if he's not if he wants Shiloh to go to the Raiders, he has to take the job right now and coach and say, I'm going to force teams to pass on Shedeur. So Shedeur comes here at number 6 and then takes Shiloh. Because otherwise, like a team like the Raiders is not going to have either Sanders brother.
Yeah, that's dangerous, though, because you don't know how other teams are going to react. Unless you literally can get up to the number 1 overall pick, a team could call your bluff and say, listen, if say even you do make a trade with Cleveland and Cleveland gives you that 2nd overall pick, you still have Tennessee. They can take Shedeur and they would say, Deion, all right, we call your bluff that he's not going to show up to training camp.
I mean, Kobe did it. He got down to 13 in the Lakers. Bronny did it. Did the Suns want to interview Bronny or work him out?
Yeah. Bronny did it.
The Suns wanted to work out Bronny.
Did it. That's a better example.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I do think, you definitely could live it. If Deion takes a Raiders job, then no one's drafting Shedeur. They're going to force them to go to the Raiders. I mean,
it puts the Raiders in a bad spot, though, because then the Browns can say, all right, we know you want him, so we're going to ask you for 4 first-round picks.
That's what would happen.
So that's why this isn't going to happen. Not in that order. I think it has to be the other way.
Well, yeah, but why would a team draft Shedeur and Shiloh?
I think you draft Shedeur, and I think Shiloh is probably an undrafted free agent.
Well, why would you
just sign for $30,000 or something?
Knowing what you just said, if you have Shedeur and Shiloh, you're going to be looking over your shoulder at Deion. Why would a coach bring in Shiloh then?
Because maybe the coach is just happy to be coaching and doesn't really have a say. It's the front office who'd be doing it. Let's say it's the Raiders. Let's say they hire.
But why would that team do a favor to Deion and take Shiloh? I'm not quite sure.
Maybe if it's Tom Brady who has this relationship with Deion, he's a mentor to Shedeur, and if it's going to cost you basically nothing to bring Shiloh in, I think you do it. So if I'm Drew Petzing and I get the Raider job, and then they draft Shedeur, and then they sign Shiloh as a favor to Deion, I might as well just turn in my playbook. Basically, I got Deion breathing down my neck.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless I somehow miracle make the playoffs.
I thought you were saying. That being said, too, it feels like Deion is better suited for college, and I say that because he keeps saying, I don't want to coach the pros.
Until yesterday.
Yeah. Well, even that was I still think the original reasoning of why he wanted to coach college makes sense. Like, I can't really see him dealing with a huge payroll NFL team.
There's another read on this, which is it's not Deion shoehorning his way into a team. Let's say Shedeur goes somewhere and he starts to struggle. And let's say he was the 2nd overall pick or 3rd overall pick, and it's looking like your investment is starting to trend a little towards bust territory. A team might say, we need to bring in Deion because he might be the only person who could save Shedeur. Could go the other way where
save him how? Like he's not an offensive coach. What do you mean?
No, but he had his best. He played his best when his dad was his coach. So maybe they need to be paired up, and then a team is begging Deion to come and coach them to save in their investment.
Because it's not like he's bringing Kyle Shanahan to call a bunch of cool play action calls. I don't know how Deion's going to save him.
Who knows?
Just be with fatherly love. I mean, honestly, it seems like Deion is doing a good job at Colorado too. He got the big quarterback, the big freshman quarterback, and he got the big transfer quarterback. So I don't know. I don't think this is happening. I don't think he's going to be coaching Shiloh and Shedeur unless he does. He has to do it right now. Otherwise, that moment will pass and it'll be too complicated.
8-5. Yep.
Besides, he could be competitive at Colorado. That'd be a big deal for him.
855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do, including, coaches just keep handing bulletin board material to their opponents. I don't understand why. Classic mistake. Who made it? We'll tell you next. M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
College football playoff semifinals. First one's tonight at the Orange Bowl. Penn State, Notre Dame, Perloff, Notre Dame, 1.5-point favorite. I mean, it's as close as you can get.
Yeah.
We rarely see these types of close spreads in college football. And you know what? James Franklin may have made a key error, Pearl. Handing a little bulletin board material to his opponent right before the game.
I don't know about that.
Okay, so the two head coaches doing press conferences sitting next to each other, and James Franklin starts talking about how Notre Dame should finally pick a conference.
I think it should be consistent across college football. I think, again, this is no knock at Coach or Notre Dame, but I think everybody should be in a conference. I think everybody should play a conference championship game, or no one should play a conference championship game. I think everybody should play the same number of conference games.
Says the man who went to the conference championship game and lost, although I think Penn State opened some people's eyes even in that loss to Oregon because their offense played really well. But yes, Marcus Freeman sitting right next to James Franklin. He's like, no disrespect, but your schedule's too easy. Is basically what he's saying.
I also love the fact that Penn State spent 100 years from 1892 to 1992 as an independent.
Yes. Manny, don't let the facts get in the way.
I do think long term, I mean, this is a one-off, but I do think the easy schedules will hurt the sport. I think at some point people are going to say, well, this is ridiculous. Why are they choosing these 12 teams just because they happen to play nobody? And I even think I think it's a valid criticism. It frustrated me that there's such a variance in sport. I mean, the NFL is king in part because they have a schedule and a system where everybody kind of has to play everybody eventually. There are one-off years where you draw the AFC South, but it's kind of ridiculous the way this landed this year.
Yeah, but you can be in a conference, as you said, and you can dodge a lot of the big guys. Like, look at Indiana. Indiana this year got to play the bottom feeders of the Big Ten outside of Ohio State, and that was the one really tough game that they had, and they lost it, and they lost it pretty badly, convincingly, and it didn't matter. They still got to the playoff. But that was a one-off.
This could be Notre Dame every year, every single year. They're pretty much going to, I don't know how, if they stick with the ACC the way they've been doing, and the ACC is never going to even be a shadow of the Big Ten and the SEC football-wise, unless Duke really takes off, which is possible, then it's always going to be easy.
You got Bill Belichick in North Carolina now. Miami has all the NIL money in the world. And the other part, too, is it's not Notre Dame's fault that USC can't get it together, and USC with Lincoln Riley was expected to be a way bigger deal than they've been.
Why do you think teams are terrified of adding conference games? Because they know that means, oh God, that means we can't avoid the powers in our conference. If you were in the SEC and you had to play an extra SEC game, that would mean a lot of teams get an extra loss. It's just harder to play conference games.
Yeah, but you just said the ACC is nothing. And that'd be one of the teams that would be playing extra conference games. And the other part, I would love to see these coaches who don't want to play, like the SEC coaches, don't want to play a ninth conference game, right? This is because they're so worried about losing. They want more money from ESPN. That's why they don't want to give away extra conference games.
I disagree. For Saban, that was a lot. And some of those other guys, they were definitely considering the playoff. I mean, okay, next year, Notre Dame, it's also a lot of luck. But next year, Miami, Texas A&M, Purdue, Arkansas, Boise, USC, Navy, they finished out the season, Navy, NC State, Syracuse, Pitt, Boston College. That's football, by the way, not college basketball. That might be more challenging in college basketball. I mean, they're going to be in the playoff every year, whether they're good or not, because this is going to be such an easier schedule than, say, Ole Miss or South Carolina.
I get that, but can you really make that claim this year when Notre Dame is in the semifinal and they just beat Georgia?
With no Carson Beck.
It doesn't matter. Of
course it matters.
If they're as bad, first of all, I think they could have beaten Georgia with Carson Beck.
Could have, but they might not have.
But here's the thing. If you really don't deserve to be in the 12, then you're going to get weeded out long before then. If you're Notre Dame, if they were really this bad, if they were frauds, if they were really just the team that lost to Northern Illinois, then they wouldn't have been able to beat anybody. They would have lost their first round game. They would have lost to Indiana. If they were really that bad and Indiana was that good, they would have lost that game. And in fact, they didn't. And Indiana made that game look a lot closer at the end in garbage time. And they would have lost to Georgia because Georgia just won the SEC. Say what you want. They beat the SEC champion. And I know it was with a backup quarterback. I get that. But if they couldn't hold a candle to any of these teams, they would have been bounced.
Right. But if they were in the SEC, they would not have been 10-1. And I think average fans know that.
Okay. You're probably right about that. But I can do a lot of ifs and buts because of this season.
But there's no ifs and buts. It's going to be like this forever. They're never going to have as hard a schedule as Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, South Carolina. It's just never going to be that way. So at a certain point, the committee's going to have the challenge to be like, well, what are we going to do about strength of schedule? They clearly were lost this year. They had no idea what to do with Indiana.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that, and they had no idea what to do with SMU. And I'm really glad Boise made it, but still, they didn't really know what to do. There is just a huge inequity of these schedules.
I get it, but you can't say that Notre Dame doesn't deserve to be here when they've already won 2 games now in this tournament.
I don't think.
See, this is your love affair with Alabama and what Alabama could have done if they had just gotten in, which Alabama could have easily gone the same way as Tennessee, a team that beat Alabama this year. They could have went to Ohio State and gotten smoked.
I'll give you the win over Georgia, even with the backup quarterback. But beating Indiana in the first round did not really prove that much.
No, but you get my point. If they really didn't deserve to be here, if they really were just skating by on an easy schedule, then they would have been exposed.
Except by a backup quarterback. We'll see when they get to Ohio State.
By Kirby Smart.
We'll see when they get to Ohio State.
Right?
But, okay, well, do you agree with my point that it is a little unfair that certain teams have much easier schedules? Much easier. It's not even like a little easier.
Yes, this was my point about Indiana.
Notre Dame was entering a season. You know how when you look up the schedule on ESPN.com, they have the little numbers, like number 18. They're going to have 0 numbers. They might not play a top 25 team, depending on what Miami and A&M do at quarterback. Like, they literally, and USC's probably going to have Jordan Mailata. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to be good next year. So they're just not going to play any ranked teams. You're going to look at Alabama. It's going to be 4, 6, 10, 12, 17. It feels totally unfair to me. I almost would rather go to the pro system where it's like a rotation.
That might be a good idea, but this is the other part where you go the opposite way. And I think you saw with a lot of, neutral fans rooting for Notre Dame against Georgia, which is basically what you're saying is the SEC is the strongest, top to bottom, no matter what. And you have a point, I think, most years. But this was, quite frankly, a down year for the SEC. And I think even the most staunch SEC fan would admit it, right?
I would agree with that. I mean, and I think also,
so this year, the SEC didn't deserve the benefit of the doubt, is what I'm saying. They didn't deserve to get these other teams in because, quite frankly, this year, those teams weren't worth stumping for, pardon me.
True, but we all know that Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Alabama were better than multiple teams that were in the 12.
Tennessee beat Alabama.
Yeah, in Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that being said, you think Indiana was better than South Carolina and Ole Miss?
I told you I did not think that Indiana. I thought that their schedule specifically was the point you're making about Notre Dame. They don't play anybody. I said you can be at a conference and still not play anybody.
Do you think SMU is better than South Carolina?
No. I thought South Carolina was playing as good as any team in the country by the end of the season. But I can't make up for the losses that South Carolina had earlier in the year. I can't make those go. I can't make Ole Miss beat Kentucky. I can't go back in time and do that. They lost that game. It had to matter. I can't make Ole Miss beat Florida at the end of the season. They lost.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Florida got way better at the end of the year.
I know, Florida came on strong at the end, but I can't make Ole Miss go to the Swamp and beat them. I also have to. I'm not saying results are the only. Results have to matter.
I'm not even really arguing about this season. I'm just the whole system is flawed moving forward. And I think the committee's got tough choices here because they don't know what to do with strength of victory. It's and the fact that Notre Dame's schedules, they're gonna either win this game or win the whole title. They are going to be in this playoff forever. There's no way there's 3 losses on their schedule for next year. There's just absolutely no way. They're going to roll through this ACC crap fest and be there every year. That just doesn't seem fair to me. I get what James Franklin is saying.
Yeah, I guess the counter to that is, and James Franklin was calling out Notre Dame with Marcus Freeman sitting next to him on the dais about how they should join a conference and everyone should be in a conference. But I guess the flip side is, okay, you don't get Notre Dame in, right? Because they play a weaker schedule or whatever.
No, but he's saying they should play a tougher schedule so we can really evaluate them, and they have to go through the grind.
I get that, but let's just say it stays the way it is, right? So if it's not Notre Dame, then it's who? It's basically just another middling team that's in a conference. And these conferences, let's just take the SEC, the Big Ten, they're so big and bloated right now that they aren't good top to bottom. If they were, then we would give Penn State more credit for going to Minnesota and barely winning that game. We would give Oregon more credit for going to Wisconsin and surviving that game. But we really didn't give those teams credit for that because we looked at those teams and said they're not very good.
The bottom of the Big Ten is awful this year.
Right, so you're just going to basically get another bottom of the or middle of the pack Big Ten team in as opposed to Notre Dame.
Well,
what's the difference?
What if you got Ole Miss, and Ole Miss had like an NFL team this year? They had all these big stars like Jackson Dart and all these guys.
Totally.
Would that be fun to see?
Well, but again, then you give it to them on star power. And now
they were also a
we're
good
just
team,
doing that.
They lost some bad teams, though, too.
No, they lost to Kentucky.
They lost to Kentucky. I mean, there's no...
but I mean, listen.
They beat Georgia. Do with that what you're going to do. I don't know.
There are games where Kentucky's defense is like legit. I just think it's hard to do this. I think it is not as fair as the NFL. Like, there's obviously a schedule inequity, and I think that's what Franklin was getting at. And I totally understand, especially when he said the number of conference games. That's what he was getting at. He's like, you got to make this fair. Like all these teams have to go through this crap of playing in a conference, and you guys kind of pick and choose and go here and there. It does seem a little unfair. Now, it's not a big issue because there's only one school in this position. I don't know how many independents are left, but it's just really about Notre Dame.
Yeah, and it will be about Notre Dame.
Yeah, and by the way, if Notre Dame went into the Big Ten, it would be harder for them to make it every year. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they do play Ohio State. They played Ohio State, 2 years ago? Was that Marcus Freeman's debut, I think, right, as a head coach? I think he started in the horseshoe in Ohio State. But yeah, you don't want to play Michigan every year. I get it.
I do.
Oregon now, you don't play... That's not fun.
As long as we're talking big picture, I do think NIL has changed what the SEC is. Like, because all the reports are Georgia and Alabama can't compete. Like, they just do not have the payroll that some of these other schools, like Texas, SMU, Ohio State, Oregon. Like, it sounds like the money is flowing in a different way than it used to.
So I think they have the money for the stars, right? No. They have Georgia and Alabama have money for the stars. If there's somebody they want, but they don't have the money maybe for the depth. I think that's the difference.
I don't think they can outbid Texas. I don't think they're getting the biggest stars.
Yeah, but it's also circumstance. If you have Arch Manning, who's going to be at Texas next year, then the number one guy in the portal is not going to be looking at Texas. So I think if you want to pony up in your Georgia or Alabama for the biggest stars, you'll get them.
I don't think so.
I think it's for the second string and third string, and we saw this. Georgia had injuries and issues, and look at how they were not the same team.
Georgia did just land the Branch brothers, who were two of the biggest prospects in this transfer portal.
They're okay. I mean, yeah, but still.
Zachariah Branch was the number 4 transfer prospect in this cycle.
And boy, do they need wide receivers.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that's... I've heard differently that if it's an open competition for the biggest stars, like Georgia and Alabama, I heard do not have as much money as you think they do, especially Alabama. And I don't know, you think they can outbid Ohio State and Texas? I'm not sure you're right about that.
Yeah, but I think it could also be fit, right? Like you can...
I don't know.
Well, again, I just mentioned that Arch Manning. If you're the best quarterback in the portal, why would you go to Texas? It makes no sense. You're not going to get on the field.
I just think like the amount of money at a place like Texas and Texas A&M, like, do you think Georgia and Alabama are going to be able to compete with those fan bases? And like, there's just a lot of money around those programs. And Ohio State seems to have money coming out the wazoo. Yeah. I don't know.
855-212-4227.
I looked at the highest spending teams, and like I think A&M was still like at the top of the list. There's some big spenders out there. I think the NIL's changed everything.
We're asking you today, who needs this win more tonight, Penn State or Notre Dame? That's where this whole conversation started. Personally, obviously, James Franklin has a lot on the line tonight because you got an air quotes easy path playing SMU at home on a frigid night in State College and then getting to play Boise State, which was a great team this year, but no team coming off of a bye was able to win. No conference champions. So James Franklin hasn't really proven that he can still win the big game. 1-18 against teams versus the top 5. Teams ranked in the top 5. 855-212-4227. Who needs this win more? Let us know. I don't even know what to do with this next story because I like it, and I know you guys are going to hate it. You're going to hate it. I love it. We'll get to it next. M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Second views, scrolling through, he's got no time to lose. Maggie and Perloff, Daly's keeping score, YouTube's his love. He's begging for more, double tap, clicking on that video. From sunrise to sunset, he never lets it go. Maggie snappy, Perloff's got a glow. Daly's hooked, he's looking for the show. Chasing trends, Daly's on a quest. Comments pouring in, he's one of the best. From every corner of the internet's reach. Daly's voice. Steady to breathe. Steady to breathe. Leads you to preach. Living life in 20-second views, scrolling through, he's got no time to lose. Maggie and Perloff. In the heart of the game, under the bright lights, EJ stood ready, aiming for new heights. But fate took a turn on that somber play, left us all speechless, nothing to say. Chase me, oh it has left us in the silence, the crowd's hush. Dreams on hold, the cheers now freeze. Hope fades out with a gentle breeze. Once danced on the field, now a quiet rest. Each stride a memory, we thought you the best. The journey's paused, the spirit feels heavy. Oh, how we miss you, strong and steady. And the Bogusch had a plan on a sunny afternoon. Grabbed a bat and took the field under the summer moon. He said, Jack, let's show 'em how the Bogusch boys can play. But little did they know he had whiskey in his sway.
Oh, Andrew Bogusch, swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat. Jack's team was laughing as Dad took his stance, wobbling at the plate in a tipsy baseball dance. The coach was shaking his head, moms were all aghast, but Andrew Bogusch grinned, living in the past. Oh, Andrew Bogusch, swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat. He hit a grounder to the shortstop, tried to make it to first, but he tripped over his own feet. Oh man, it was the worst. Jack was on the mound, his face turning red. Come on, Dad, get up, this game's far from dead. Oh, Andrew Bogusch, swaying side to side with Maggie's running in, got that beat
Corbuccio wipes the bottom of his sneakers. He's guarded by Lawson. Play in action. Corbuccio gets a screen from Ratliff. Corbuccio driving. Finds Ratliff free throw line. Jay, yes! Clock continues to run. Panthers have one final chance. Here's Kennedy. Kennedy with 5. Step back. Jay, yeah!
All right, welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. You know that music. Cowboy Quickie continuing, I believe, with a Penn State theme because Micah Parsons is at a mic again. I mean, has he ever not at a mic? Does he just wake up and roll into the studio? That dude says more things than anyone except Jerry Jones.
Yeah, he's learning from the GOAT when it comes to finding your camera. Micah Parsons at it again. Where else? Micah Parsons podcast.
For the people that kept believing, because we're not done yet. We are not done yet, and I hope that y'all don't think we're done yet. It's going to be an amazing, amazing, amazing thing to see next year when we're holding the trophy. Yes, it's big goals, but I'm telling y'all right now, it's holding the trophy. I'm saying my prayers out loud. I'm saying my goals out loud so y'all can hear them. You know, we're going to be holding a trophy up next year. Point blank, period.
Well, until he said point blank, period, I wasn't sure, but he means business.
Yeah, no, that's finite, Maggie.
Is he talking about Penn State football?
All right, Micah Parsons says the Cowboys will be lifting the Lombardi next year. Perloff, are you in or out on that?
So out. But by the way, I will give you one thing about Parsons. When he came back and was healthy at the latter part of the year,
looked different.
It's like, whoa, the Cowboys defense is back. It wasn't just losing Dan Quinn. He was awesome. So I desperately want to get him and Kelly Green at some point.
Bring
him
up
home.
on that.
But he's an awesome player. It's just the team has these same flaws that they've always had. The ownership and the structure seems incorrect, and their schedule's brutal next year. They have a lot of cap space tied up at the top and a lot of injured players. I don't even think they can stay healthy. So the odds of them holding up a trophy, unless the NFL develops an in-season tournament like the NBA, not going to happen.
Hang a banner. Listen, is this up there with I'm in the best shape of my life, and you know I've learned a lot of things, maturing? Like, this is just athlete speak. You know, every team says that they're going to win. I bet you can go back and find players on the Patriots last year who thought they were going to win the Super Bowl. Like, if you don't believe it, why should any of us? Deep down, I don't think Micah Parsons believes it.
You can even even in that line, he sounded a little hesitant.
It's like, I'm putting my prayers out there. I'm like, this is a prayer? It feels like a Hail Mary prayer.
He's like, yeah, I know it might sound crazy. And then I could see his brain thinking, yeah, maybe this is too crazy. But he's really good. Man, when he was chasing Jaden Daniels at the beginning of the game the other day, I'm like, oh my God, he is just as fast as Jaden Daniels, who's like the fastest dude on earth. He is amazing. Honestly, I feel like his career might be wasted in Dallas, unfortunately.
Now we're wondering, when are we going to get this Mike McCarthy news? Because I think the latest was they're still trying to work out some kind of contract. It's like, you already blocked him from interviewing with the Bears. You're bringing him back.
Yeah, it seems that way. Which is another reason where you lower the expectations. Like, if they had said, oh, we're going to hire Bill Belichick, then maybe, okay, maybe something different.
Yeah,
but now
new.
It seems like they're just stuck on this path of good, not great.
Meanwhile, they're the only team maybe who's not interested now in Belichick. We're getting the NFL report, multiple teams interested in Belichick, inquiring about whether or not he might flip from UNC. He's been there a month. What is this like? This is like him getting in the transfer portal. He would be there less than a month, and Tom Brady apparently is calling now to see if he has any interest in the Raiders.
Yeah, but they're not saying like, oh, they're not calling him saying the job is yours if you want it. As I understand,
you got to be a little careful there. First, you got the Rooney Rule. You can't just offer it to
whatever. They're all working around that.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Publicly, you can't just say, we got our laser focused on Belichick. You've got to interview a variety of candidates, or else you're going to get reprimanded by the league. So,
well, no, I'm just saying, like, I don't think they're calling behind the scenes and saying the job is yours. I have no idea what they're saying. They're not saying it publicly. I don't even think, it doesn't seem to me like they are talking to everybody. All these teams are going super heavy on interviews. So I think they're like, well, let's get Belichick in the mix. If we're going to interview the Bills coordinator, Joe Brady, would you also want to talk to Bill Belichick? Do you really think Brady's calling him, say, Bill, the job is yours if you want it? See, I get the sense that, hey, let's talk. Maybe the Raiders.
But here's the thing. They know that that's not going to be enough to get him to flake out on North Carolina. First of all, there's a $10 million buyout before June.
That's nothing for an NFL team.
You're right, but again, like you have to, you can't just call Bill and say, "Hey, give it all up for an interview." And by the way, we might pick Aaron Glenn.
I think that's what they're doing, and I think that's why.
Then it's an invitation. It's a non-invite.
Well, I think that's why Belichick's not interviewing.
He can't leave North Carolina. By the way, how does this hurt him on the recruiting trail? Which, by the way, hasn't exactly been gangbusters if you're keeping track.
Yeah. Again, I've said this about Belichick. He has to go all transfer portal. He does not have time to wait for a 17-year-old kid to learn the game. He's 73. Like, this is now or never. And, I did see the rankings. He's 33rd in the transfer portal or something?
It's just where he's getting guys from, right? And listen, maybe he grabs somebody who's playing in the college football playoff right now.
Well, he wasn't a great GM in the end of New England. So maybe his personnel decisions are not going to be great. And also, too, it's North Carolina football. We're back to I saw the same headline you did, the Belichick struggling in the transfer portal. I'm like, oh, because you were so high on this hire.
I'm still high on it.
High on like what? Like he's going to win the national title at North Carolina?
Yeah, maybe. No, but get into the college football playoff? If he stays there long enough,
Yeah.
Definitely.
I just think I think it's a quick time for him. Like it's got to hit almost immediately.
Well, I don't think he's going to do this more. He's going to be going back to the NFL.
Yeah. I think that he's got to get it there in 2 years, Maggie, or this is not going to happen. That's hard.
The enticement though of teaming back up with Brady, I feel like would be. I mean, listen, Bill Belichick called the Jets to see if they wanted him. His arch enemy. He has no respect for the owner, and even he circled back on them. He wants to be in the NFL. We know that. And Brady gives you a call. You recreate the magic from New England.
I mean, what's their win total next year? 4.5? If Belichick goes there?
Well, the Denver Broncos win total was 4.5, and look where they are.
I think it was higher than that.
Was it? Not by much.
Yeah, they won 9 games.
Or sorry, what was the Vikings? 6.5, and look at them, 14 wins. Sometimes your win total isn't.
I will. I mean, I think they'd be they definitely would be in competition for the number 1 pick next year with Belichick. Without they have a great chance to be in
5.5 for the Broncos.
Yeah, they have a great chance to be in the arch sweepstakes next year, regardless of who the coach is. You can't deny that, right? I mean, their team is terrible.
855-212-4227. Bogusch is here. He's got updates for us today.
You guys mentioned this last hour. The LA wildfires are affecting the sports world, of course. The Rams and Vikings may play Monday night's playoff game in Glendale, Arizona instead. And the Chargers have been limiting their outdoor prep for Saturday's game in Houston because of air quality concerns. The Kings did not play their hockey game last night. The Lakers might not face the Hornets this evening. And Kawhi Leonard left the Clippers in Denver to return home and help family members displaced by the fires. LA lost that game 126-103. The Cavaliers and Thunder met last night in Cleveland on 10 and 15-game win streaks, respectively. It was the Cavs that kept winning 129-122. Even though Donovan Mitchell only scored 11 points on 3 of 16 shooting.
It just speaks to our growth. I told everybody after the game, like, we don't, as a unit, we don't win this game last year. You look at everybody that came in, did something positive to affect the game, whether it was scoring, rebounding, defending, whatever it may be. And that's a team win. That's what it's going to take for us to be the team we want to be.
Noted nerd Jared Allen led Cleveland with 25 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. Evan Mobley threw in 21 with 10 boards and 7 assists. The Bucks, an easy 121-105 decision over the Spurs. The Sixers, a 109-103 home win over the Wizards. And the Pistons, 113-98 winners in Brooklyn. That's 5 wins in a row for Detroit. They're over 500 this late in the season for the first time since 2018. Now we check the playoff injury reports. Jalen Hurts back at Eagles practice yesterday. Jordan Love said he is hopeful he'll face Philly Sunday because of his elbow issue. And Amari Cooper returned to the Bills, put in a full practice after missing their last game for personal reasons.
Perloff, are you breathing easy now because Jalen Hurts?
No, I worry. What if he gets a big hit? And I'm looking at Bogusch like he's
Bogusch, what are you going to do about it if Jalen Hurts gets a big hit?
What are you going to do?
Hopefully I'm the one hitting him.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a concern. The concussion.
But he looks sharp.
Well, yeah, no, I think he can play well. I just think that you're within a month window of the concussion. You're more vulnerable for another concussion. And Jalen Hurts in a playoff game, I would assume, would be run heavy because, you hold it back until the playoff game. Yeah, I'm just a little worried. Also, you ever watch him play when he's hurt? Like, he has these awkward slides. Like, he just looks like a mess. When he's healthy and he can run, he's much better.
On the coaching front, the Patriots meet with Mike Vrabel today. Pete Carroll chats with the Bears. Chicago's reportedly adding Cliff Kingsbury to its list of candidates. The Saints want to talk to him, as well as Chiefs D coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. He's apparently on the Jets' wish list as well.
Sorry, can I interject one more thing? I think Pete Carroll made a big miscalculation this past year, and it was not doing TV. He's got a great personality. Pete Carroll is one of the fun personality coaches, you know. Why wasn't he doing television? Why wasn't he? Because television gives you a major bump.
And you'd assume it was his decision not to. There's no way networks are not calling him, asking him to come on their shows.
Why is he not sitting next to Jimmy Johnson doing Fox? Because you always sound smarter than everybody because you know way more than the average person. It's your job. You're a PhD level at this. So you always sound smart. You always have good stories. I don't know. I feel like Pete Carroll would have fit in really nicely on one of those sets.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, why not do it this year? Maybe he's listening to the show right now. It's a good point.
It's worth crying for.
He can take all those Belichick weird spots of CW and all the networks that Belichick's on. That's a great point. And by the way, if Carroll doesn't get it this year, do a year of TV and get him then. The guy is
a bunch of crap.
He looks better than all of us, and he's 73.
That's what I'm saying. At the very least, do Shannon Sharp's podcast. I don't know, do anything. Go on there with Marshawn Lynch. Maybe not that one.
Doing Shannon Sharp's podcast over the course of the year, that might be a little provocative.
Well,
who does that?
I didn't say I had to be on Instagram Live. Sorry.
Is Alabama now a basketball school? The fifth-ranked Tide, an 88-68 win at South Carolina last night. That's a 7-game win streak for them. It's 9 in a row for number 10, Texas A&M.
Phelps, front court, no more shot clock. Phelps, top of the arc. Phelps, step back, 3. Zoo buries it! 80-78, A&M with 19.6. Zoo, 6-3, all in this half.
That's from Learfield. Zoo Phelps, a career-high 34, including that go-ahead 3. The Aggies down number 17, Oklahoma, 80-78 after trailing by 18 shortly after halftime.
By the way, you bring up a good point. Put that on the list of things that annoys Perloff. The fact that the SEC is strictly a basketball conference now. What is going on? Why is this whole upside down? Why are all these schools so good at defense? And why are they all so long and talented? It's annoying. EJ, you tweet about these SEC schools. They're insane.
This is the best stuff to watch on TV. Forget the NBA. The SEC basketball is a war zone.
Yeah, they're amazing. Anyway, it shouldn't be like this. They're supposed to be good at football. Again, I'm looking at you, Bogusch. What are you doing about it?
Bogusch, stop making them so good.
No,
my best to fix this for you.
Crowbar out Auburn.
Fix Jalen Hurts' brain and then fix SEC football.
Yeah.
You got it. Anything else?
We'll hear from you next hour. When you've got all that.
Women's Hoops number 4 USC gave 8th-ranked Maryland its first loss, 79-74. Juju Watkins, 21 points and 9 boards. No goals last night from Alex Ovechkin. Pierre-Luc Dubois did the scoring for Washington instead.
Now feeds it up the middle. Dubois comes in. A shot. He scores! Pierre-Luc Dubois, his second of the game, is a game winner in sudden death. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Vancouver. The Capitals take down the Canucks.
Thank you for all of that, John Walton on Caps Radio. Ovechkin without a goal in back-to-back games, so he's still on 872 for his career, still 23 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time mark. The NHL announcing yesterday that the Panthers will host the Rangers in next season's Winter Classic. It'll be January 2nd at the Marlins ballpark.
Lone Depot Park.
The Lightning will host the Bruins at Raymond James Stadium on February 1st of 2026.
That's in Tampa.
Who was Raymond James?
I don't know, some investor, financial guy, probably. Isn't
it was a pirate.
It probably is a pirate. Could be a pirate for all we know.
Yeah, I feel
modern day.
He's like the Edward Jones guy. Who's what was the old Rams Stadium? You know this one.
Oh, yeah, it was
Edward Jones Dome.
Edward Jones Dome, yeah.
Yeah. Is Raymond James like Edward Jones, like a name of investment firm?
Charles Schwab?
I'm pretty sure. Has to be.
Yep. Edward Raymond. Founded by Robert James, 1962. The name comes from a previous owner, Edward Raymond. So they just combined.
Financial services?
Yep, financial services.
Well,
not a pirate. Well, modern day pirate. Robbing somebody, most likely us. Bogusch, thank you. Can I switch gears for a second? Because I want to know if you guys heard this story, saw this story. So there's these self-driving cars now. Waymo. They don't have them in New York, but they have them in LA, and I think most of California, right, Pearl?
I thought it was just San Francisco, Waymo, but
no, I think it's in LA,
is it LA
also.
too? Okay.
So you can like get an Uber or Lyft, but it's self-driving. And this guy was on his way to the airport, and the Waymo malfunctioned, and he was just circling the airport and couldn't get out of the car.
I saw that. No thanks.
He said, I'm getting dizzy.
Yeah.
Doing that situation, just open the door and tuck and roll and just hope for the best and kind of say goodbye to your luggage.
Think of what you're saying. What do? You're not James Bond. Regular people don't do this kind of thing, man. You can jump out of a moving car.
John Wick, baby.
I'll turn into Daniel Craig like that. Come on now.
Will you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Feel free.
What's the Latin version of Daniel Craig?
Daniel Craig.
Latin Daniel Craig. This is your worst nightmare.
There should be like an abort button, right, in the Waymo app. Like, get me out of here. Like, there's something wrong.
But see, then a person could abuse it, right? What if you just do that just to get out of paying or something like that?
Well, they know where you are. They know if you're like stopping short of the distance, your destination, they'll still charge you the full thing. But like this guy's, I saw the video. He's in a parking lot just making loops because the thing like didn't read like where the end point was, and he was stuck. There's got to be some way to save yourself. Or is he still there?
These guys,
like, what are you telling me?
Guys, stop laughing at me. It's like fingernails are growing out. He's got a 5-day-old beard. These glitches just feel so serious when it's something like a self-driving car, you know?
Yeah, like I can drive. Like I can do, I saw somebody tweeting this yesterday. Like I can make a shopping list. I can write a letter. Like let's figure things out that we actually can't do. Like to make life
Uber.
better.
The ride share
but
is
a
amazing.
person's driving still.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah,
right,
but I mean, a computer will be better than a person, theoretically, because people are...
How many Uber drivers don't know when to stop at the airport?
We got one.
Guys circling the airport may think differently. So just saying.
Do you know how many people...
We should send help for that guy, by the way.
You know how many Uber drivers either probably look at their phone or high? Like, you don't have any of that with a computer.
But they got me to the airport.
Yeah, but I mean, how many? I'm sure there's thousands of Uber accidents, right? I mean, like humans are very flawed. Computers, maybe there's one glitch, but over the course of time, computers could be way safer, right?
Not with their analytics.
I mean, yeah, humans are terrible.
No,
you
I
trust
know, but
your Uber driver? Who knows where that guy's been?
I trust my Uber driver more than me.
Right, and I can say to him, "Hey, sir, this is my stop. This is the terminal.
Well,
I'm going to get out now."
Here's the thing, right? I guess I trust myself maybe more than anyone, right? But I'm still using the same computer that their GPS, right? Like generally. And ride shares are the best for if you happen to have been drinking. It's the best possible thing. Like if I have one sip of alcohol, I'm taking an Uber just because I can.
Right.
So in that case, he's definitely, the Uber ride driver is definitely, I don't think that person's on drugs or drinking.
But how do you know? But you know that computer.
I know I am.
But also at the same time, like if that person is drinking or on drugs or doing weird stuff, you can say, "Hey, pull over,
I want to get out."
Get out the car, and 90% of the time they will let you out. Again, in this situation, a computer, you don't have that option. It seems like
over the course of time, the computer will destroy the human Uber driver. They'll be so much safer.
I was going to say destroy the earth.
Yeah,
like they might attack.
Fast forward this thing.
Yeah, algorithms are way better than humans.
But I still think that there are things that we could use all of this amazing computer brain power for that like we physically can't do.
Yeah, but honestly,
like before we get to self-driving cars, like let's fix more diseases. Let's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, use the AI for
I'll tell you
things we cannot do. Yeah,
I do not like having 16-year-olds on the street. I know my kids. Like, I don't want them to drive at 16. I feel like that young teenage drivers are a menace. I would take the computer that spins around in a circle in the parking lot all day over a 16-year-old.
The only thing is, though, yes, you might be terrified, but you do want your daughters to learn to drive.
Well,
don't you want them to have that skill?
Yeah, in New York, a lot of people don't learn. It's just the way
I know.
it is.
We're produced by one.
Yeah. No, everyone I know who grew up in New York City. But generally,
but Manny drives every day.
I
drive.
I was a menace. When I was 16, I got in like 14 accidents because I didn't know what I was doing.
How bad of a driver are you?
When I was 16, it was terrible. Also, I look around the streets, so many people drive and text. Like, computers are not going to do that. Like, I'm sorry, you guys are going to lose this battle. Overall, it's eventually all the cars are going to be self-driving because humans are way too fallible.
We're going to lose every battle to the computer eventually.
Yeah, the driving is going to be
going to lose humanity.
The roads are going to be much safer when the computers are running it.
Yeah, when it's Terminator 2, we're all going to be real happy about this.
I know you guys are going to fight this, but like self-driving cars are going to be way safer than normal cars.
Okay, great. I'm not dismissing your overriding point. I'm just saying I don't think we need them right now.
You like the old school humans, huh?
I like to power rank some things. Like, if we're gonna fix stuff and improve stuff, I can still drive myself places or ask another human to drive me to a place.
Agree.
Really? Oh, man, I can't wait to get Waymo. I'm actually
we'll
thinking about going
LAX, I'm going to parking lot 4.
I'm going late for the show because the guy's circling Hudson Street.
Can't wait to call. Hey, guys, EJ, I'm running late. I'm at JFK for some reason.
No, I have friends in San Francisco who say it's awesome. They all love it. It's supposed to be super cool. You don't have to talk to the Uber driver. I'm gonna be out there this summer. We're visiting my in-laws. I'm totally going to Waymo.
I'm just wondering, when you get in the car, does some kind of robot look back at you and be like?
No, I'd prefer that. It's a freaky empty seat, and the steering wheel just moves.
Oh.
Yeah.
That takes some getting used to. Also, do you know there's settings now on some of your Ubers where you can actually say, I'd like to chat. Yeah. I don't want to chat. Yeah. I want the car hot, cold.
You guys have way too much faith in your Uber drivers. I've had some guys who are like, whoa,
listen,
this guy going to get me to the airport in one piece.
I got injured, and they got me to work before this week. They've got me to work every day and got me home. So I got faith in them. I had no choice.
I do too. My one gripe is when the air fresheners are just a little too thick.
Yeah.
But besides that, I'm good.
You ever been in one that's too slow on the way to the airport when you have to make a flight and you're like, sir, you have to go faster?
Oh my God, I know it's late, but I was late for a bus once getting to work, and my Uber driver was like, oh, well, okay, don't worry. I used to be a race car driver. And the way this guy was driving on the highway.
It's like the French Connection.
I felt like I was in 8500. I'm like, this is insane. But he got me there on time. And I was like, do I give him 5 stars? I did almost die today.
4.5.
But I did get to this place in 5 minutes, but it was a 10-minute ride.
You got a 5-star and a massive tip.
That's what I ended up doing. But like, just happening to get the Uber driver that was a race car driver.
EJ kisses the ground, pours milk all over himself.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Self-driving Ubers. Anybody? 855-212-4227 or self-driving Waymos, I guess. Coming up, lots more to do, including some outside-the-box coaching and a preview of tonight's semifinal.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Portion of the show is sponsored by Hyundai. Now you can buy a new Hyundai from the comfort of your new home at Amazon. Visit HyundaiUSA.com for more details. Are you Hyundai or Hyundai?
I do Hyundai.
Hyundai. I own a Hyundai, but I call it a Hyundai. You know me. I got to be different.
Yeah.
Got to be outside the box like the Bears. Trying to find their big outside the box coaching candidate. Matt Campbell. I don't even know if it's going to be him, Perloff, but the Iowa State head coach is going to be interviewing along with Pete Carroll. Is Pete Carroll outside the box enough for you?
Hey, we got to figure this out, do some real research. I know Matt Campbell's always talked about with the NFL. Has he actually interviewed multiple times? Like, how many interviews has he done?
I feel like he was a name a couple years ago.
He's always a name. The Jets looked at Matt Campbell, didn't they?
Well, I mean, the Jets probably looked at everybody. Ironically, except for Bill Belichick.
Anyway.
Spurned them.
We had an argument on our pre-production call about Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell is so far and away the best Iowa State coach in the history of that program. Like, he's a really good coach who took a program that was never anywhere and turned them into something. I have no idea if a college coach in these days is going to translate to the NFL, him or anyone else, because the last couple times we've seen it, it's been really dicey.
Well, you know, Pete Carroll, we talk about him. He was NFL, then college, then back to the NFL. That worked. I mean, Steve Spurrier, not really to any distinction. Urban Meyer was just downright dreadful.
Yeah.
You say
Chip Kelly, bad.
Chip Kelly, you know. The one thing, though, about Matt Campbell is like, he turned around this Iowa State program. It's like, okay.
That's a big deal.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. I don't know. I don't see how, and he was 2 years, I guess he was an assistant coach in the NFL once upon a time. I don't see how that all of a sudden, like, catapults you to the top of a list, though.
Well, I actually, it's so funny. I think that a guy like that might be better suited, have more of an upside than someone like Spurrier or Urban Meyer, who had already made their name and had national championships under their belt. Like Spurrier got to Washington and didn't seem like he had that fire in him anymore.
Well, then, but if you're so impressed with Matt Campbell, why not be impressed with Kenny Dillingham? Like, if he had not the guy who beat him in the Big 12 championship game? His team was picked to finish last in the Big 12, and they finished first.
Because Dillingham's really new on the scene, too. Like, I think, basically, Dillingham is who Matt Campbell was 5 years ago.
But we don't hear him getting any interviews. The one thing about Matt Campbell... But he just
started. I mean, how many great years has Dillingham had?
Campbell's never had a year as good as Dillingham has had this year.
Yeah, well, okay, but how many bowl games has Dillingham been to?
Like, this is only his second year as a head coach.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dillingham's going to be the hottest name out there. You kidding me? He's going to be looking at like gigantic jobs very soon.
Yeah, I'm not trying to disrespect Campbell at all. It's just I also don't consider that an outside the box hire. First of all, he's already been looked at by other teams. You're not the biggest outside the box hire I think in our lifetime was the rumor that was never even substantiated that the Browns were looking at Condoleezza Rice as their GM. Now that was an outside the box. That would have been groundbreaking in so many different ways. To me, a college coach or Pete Carroll is not that's not earth-shattering to me.
You're right. That's not outside the box. You know who Campbell reminds me of is Matt Rule. Like, he's just really well liked, like has done something with programs that were struggling.
How did that go in the NFL?
Well, it didn't. It just happened not to work that one time. But like he was, we know now, was in a tough spot. Like Carolina is a bad ownership situation. So I mean, Matt Rule, it doesn't always work out. We don't know that Matt Rule is the worst coach in the world, but he was at Carolina. Come on, Maggie. Let's be realistic about what David Tepper is doing to that program.
855-212-4227. We get back into tonight's semifinal game. Penn State, Notre Dame. Tomorrow it's Texas and Ohio State. Big Friendly is in California. Big Friendly.
Good morning, Maggie Malone, EJ the EP, 411, Daddy Cool. Manny, two things real quick. I see you ran from that bet that I put on the chat faster than Nancy Kerrigan from Tanya Hardin's personal security. And every time I call, I see in the chat 2 or 3 people say I need to give you a nickname. Now, since you're a Penn State fan and I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I see that Daddy Cool borrowed your sweater for today's show, that's why he's hating so much, would you accept the name Manny Lyons?
I don't hate it.
Manny.
I can get back in the kitchen, man. I'm trying to work some stuff out.
Like Nittany Lions, but Manny Lions.
Yeah, like exactly.
I think we can do better.
Hey, I can do better.
You can. I know you can. Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. Pause 1 second, Big Friendly. Perloff, are you wearing Manny's sweatshirt?
No.
That's your sweatshirt, right?
Yeah, it's my sweatshirt.
Oh, okay.
We had one of those. Yeah, somebody gave it to me because we had to pick a school for our Wear Your College Colors Day, and I picked Penn State, a Philadelphia school. Thank you, Big Friendly.
Well, no, Manny got excited when I brought up Nick Scott taking Deebo's bike back, and he swiped his Penn State sweater. So it was just a joke.
Yeah, I know.
So noodling, let's get into this up to the elbows.
Wait, Big Friendly, here's the thing. Like, let's be realistic. Manny and Nittany do not... They're close, but they're not close enough. That's our problem here. You're so good, we know you can do better.
I know. It's a little bit like like a rap rhyme. It doesn't have to be so perfect when you're, but I think we can do better. But Big Friendly, I'm sorry, we've left you no time. We're up against the top of the hour, so you're going to have to put a pin in that one.
Real quick. 2 receipts real quick. Daddy Cool, you real quick called Aaron Donald's retirement when you guys talked about Chris Jones 3 months before Aaron Donald.
Big Friendly, gotta go. Perloff was wrong. Hey, we got to the gist of the call.
No, you say I was right because I called Aaron Donald was going to walk away.
Oh, I thought you said that the Rams defense was going to fall apart with him gone. And looks like they're doing pretty well.
You're in a 5-minute break.
this show. Maggie and Perloff gotta go with the flow. Fresh squeezed OJ, get it in my hand. Bow to your king, obey my command. But where's Peter Bellotti? He's gone again. The king's in power, but we're missing our friend. Andrew Bogusch with updates on blast. Gonzaga, Miami, and the Knicks kicking ass. Perloff's on juicer, Maggie's on call. King EJ's demands are at his beck and call. Andrew Bogusch keep the updates loud, but Peter Bellotti's ghost in the crowd. Where's Peter Bellotti? Ain't he in the band? While King EJ's demands, they're at his beck and call. Andrew Bogusch keep the updates loud, but Peter Bellotti's ghost in the crowd. Where's Peter Bellotti? Ain't he in the band? While King EJ's ruling, he's nowhere to stand. Bogusch drowns us in Met stats and Knicks scores. Bellotti's MIA like never before. Peter Bellotti, Houdini in disguise. We're sick of his act, his permanent goodbyes. When King EJ reigns, beats out the door, gone in the wind like a phantom encore. Where's Peter Bellotti? Yeah, who knows where? EJ's got his kingdom, but Pete's never there. With Maggie and Perloff, Bogusch on loop, we're rocking without him. Bellotti's a stew.
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
College football playoff semifinal tonight. Notre Dame, Penn State. Maggie and Perloff show. So glad to have you. My question for tonight, Perloff, do you believe that the winner of tonight's game can win the title?
Nope. Let me rephrase that. Does anybody think the winner of tonight's game is going to win the title?
Essentially, I think I know where your head's at, and not to fast forward past tonight's game, but I'm getting a sense from the greater public, and maybe it's just listening and sitting next to you, that whoever wins this game tonight is kind of just going to be fodder for Ohio State, because I know you're very high on this Ohio State team.
Yeah. We had Josh Pate, who's great, college football analyst, on yesterday, who agreed, Ohio State looks like they figured it out. They're a juggernaut right now. They're clearly the most talented team. If you judge talent by future NFL talent, I mean, all these teams have a ton of guys, but Ohio State particularly has stars. So it looks like on paper, Ohio State is the best team. And I just don't think Notre Dame, Penn State, and Texas are good teams, but you need a great team to take out the way Ohio State is playing right now, and I don't see them as all-time great teams.
Okay, 2 counterpoints there. One, because it's just one game, I don't think Michigan was an all-time great team. They played great on one day, and Ohio State played terribly on one day. Yeah. I don't think that Oregon is a bad team, and they got smoked by Ohio State in this playoff. I don't think it's not, to me, it's not about are you the better team on paper, or who are you sending to the NFL, or else Ohio State, you could argue, should win every single year. I think it's more about, can you just play better on that day? And you have to play maybe your perfect game. And have we seen a perfect game from Texas yet? Notre Dame or Penn State? Probably not. Notre Dame maybe came as close. That win against Georgia was not a perfect game by any stretch, but it was perfect for that game. The game plan was awesome. Marcus Freeman outcoached Kirby Smart, all that. But you just need to have a great game. You don't need to necessarily be the better team. And then my second point about just handing this thing to Ohio State, who is the odds-on favorite right now to win the title, can they play 3 great games in a row? If you look back over the entire season of Ohio State, there were question marks up and down this team. They should have been more dominant. They should have been better. They should have done this. They should have done that. It was never perfect. Then they get to Tennessee. They smoke Tennessee, right? Then they get to Oregon, jump all over Oregon. They win that game, the Rose Bowl, running away.
Right.
But are you confident they can actually put together 3 or 4 of those, but almost were not perfect games, but pretty close to it?
Yes.
Can they put those together?
Yes.
But then why didn't they earlier this year?
Because they decided not to throw the ball to Jeremiah Smith against Michigan. And then the entire world said, are you insane? What are you doing? And then they turned a switch, and they're like, we're going to get that guy involved. And now they are unstoppable.
Okay, but the caliber of defense is also going up. We saw against Michigan. Michigan has a great defense. Whether you're playing Penn State or Notre Dame, these are 2 awesome defenses. And by the way, Texas is capable of playing really great defense as well.
I mean, Tennessee's got a pro defensive line.
Right, but you would say, well, that was in Ohio State. That was a home game for Ohio State.
But I don't know if the caliber of defense is. I don't think
Notre Dame's defense is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, but they're right there. Tennessee's is not far behind that. I don't think that's a huge step up.
But this is a neutral field.
Yeah.
Very, very different than that game.
I mean, Texas has got some studs on defense.
Texas has a great defense.
But I do disagree with one thing you said, that you don't think NFL caliber matters. You look at the champions, and it's all those 2 Georgia teams. They were putting out full NFL teams, not just an NFL guy here or there. The entire roster, 3 deep, was all NFL players. I'm looking at the champions. 2020 Alabama, they're all playing in the NFL. They're all stars in the NFL. 2019 LSU was particularly NFL heavy. That was crazy. It was Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Now, last year's Michigan team, I mean, how many top 10 picks were on there? Tons. They basically 2 defensive players are going top 10 this year. J.J. McCarthy was the number 10 pick. They had pros. They were ridiculously NFL heavy. Talent does matter.
Okay, but if it was just about the NFL talent, then they would never lose a game.
That Georgia team barely ever lost a game.
No, but you're talking about Ohio State. So I watched Michigan beat Ohio State in Columbus.
I know, and that was just a horrible, that never should have happened. It was a terrible coaching job, and they learned from it, to their credit.
And I also I saw them lose to Oregon.
That was a great game. And that was and Oregon's also got a lot of pro talent.
Okay, so but I'm just saying, and so does Texas. And you have guys who are going to be going pro on this Penn State defense. Abdul Carter could be a top 5 pick.
Right, but they don't even Texas, yes, they do have a lot of pros, but look at their sort of weapons. Their combination of running back and receivers is not unbeatable right now. I think that Ohio State's up a caliber of pro talent. I think Texas is close, but they're not quite the same.
Yeah, I guess it just means if you play your best game, and Ohio State, do you think they can play this well multiple games in a row? Like, can they be playing at this highest caliber 3 and 4 games in a row, which is going to take to win this whole thing against competition that's getting much better than playing Nebraska, who they almost lost to, by the way, or playing Indiana, or whoever else was on Michigan's schedule, or on Ohio State's schedule?
Yeah, well, obviously they've already beaten 2 better teams. I think that, I do think they can. And like by that argument, then TCU would have stood a shot against Georgia, and they did not.
Yeah, but they beat Michigan, and Michigan sent guys to the pros that year.
Yeah, but I just say, okay, you should definitely bet on the other teams, because I really feel good about Ohio State right now.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense from not just you, but everybody that tonight's game basically wins the right to get mollywopped by Ohio State. And I'm holding space for that not to happen.
It's so funny. I think Notre Dame has a better chance against Ohio State because Notre Dame's unorthodox, right? Like they're not going to try and control the ball against Penn State will too, but I think Notre Dame has a good formula for combating. They're like Michigan.
And to be honest, we've seen James Franklin against Ohio State. If it's Penn State, Ohio State, he's lost to them every time. Or was he 1 for 10?
Right. That's why I think adds to this consolation prize field. The Penn State issue. Notre Dame could be interesting, right? Because Notre Dame is going to zag when everyone else is zigging, or zig when everyone else is zagging. Like they're going to try and run the ball every single time against Ohio State to make up for the talent differential. I don't know if that'll work. I still like Ohio State.
855-212-4227. We are going to make some picks for these college football playoff games today because obviously we want to do the college side of our Maggie and Perloff weekly picks before the game gets underway. That would only make a lot of sense. We also have a poll question up for you, Maggie and Pearl. Who does this game mean more to? Is it Penn State or is it Notre Dame? Perloff thinks it's Penn State. I think it's Notre Dame. Notre Dame, they need to prove that they are actually can be a champion or be a contender, not just in name only. They do. And they get all the benefits of the doubt because they have this big fan base and they're a media darling, their own TV network, all that stuff with NBC. And when we see them in the biggest games, it's been disappointing. So for them to get back to the national championship game and not get smoked in the national championship game, by the way, I think is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's one game. The elite Notre Dame, it's been a long, long time. I think, remember that you guys were probably too young, Rocket Ismail game. That was when Notre Dame was on top of the world. Like it'd be cool if they win the title this year. I think they'll be back to that Notre Dame. That Notre Dame team, you guys have never really experienced like that was. Like when they were a national contender year in and year out. Oh my God, they were nationally just such a big deal. I think they have a little ways to get back there. If they don't, not only do they have to get to the title game, they probably have to win it to be like then. They'll immediately be the face of the sport. Don't you agree with that?
Well, yeah, and I think beating either Ohio State or Texas would do that. I don't know about beating Penn State, but if you beat Ohio State, this team...
Right, that's what I'm saying. Notre Dame, unfortunately, this game against Penn State's not going to do it. They need to win the next one. Penn State, on the other hand, I think they just need to get to the title game. That's why I think it means a little more to James Franklin. But the other thing, too, Marcus Freeman, he's a rocket ship. If they're going to be right back next year. Penn State feels like everything kind of laid out well this year.
855-212-4227. If you want to talk about tonight's game, we've got that for you. The other big news going on is this weird story, in a way weird, that now all of a sudden teams are dying to interview Bill Belichick. Now listen, I get Tom Brady as a minority owner of the Raiders. It would almost be insulting if he didn't reach out to Bill. Look at what they did together for 20 years. I know that it didn't end awesome, but whatever does. They still have a lot of respect for each other, and Brady is now influential in the decision-making with the Raiders, obviously, and he gave Belichick a call. My shock is the other teams. NFL's media is reporting multiple teams now want to interview Belichick. Like, guys, he was on the open market a month ago. He literally took the UNC job on December 11th. We're not even a month into this thing. And now all of a sudden NFL teams are circling back? It doesn't make sense.
Well, I thought, by the way, which teams are they? Is it the Bears we're talking about? Like
multiple teams.
Because the Jags, wasn't there a report that the Jags didn't want Belichick? Wasn't that part of the story when he took North Carolina?
I think people just assume that because Doug Peterson's been on the hot seat since the beginning of the season. But I don't know if anyone ever said no thank you.
I seem to remember that was part of the reporting that the Jags and the Belichick couldn't get on the same page. So that's part of the reason he took North Carolina.
Well, listen, the Jags just kept their general manager, so maybe that was not.
Yeah, that's probably, and that's the pattern. Like some employee on the team doesn't want to lose his job when Bill Belichick comes in, and that's why he's not getting a job.
It's just weird. Like, you're telling me, say you are the Bears. Matt Eberflus comes into this season, and you really had to wait until that game on Thanksgiving? Like, you had no idea. You had no inkling that he was anywhere near the hot seat or that there's any shot you might have been making a change. You really had to see him botch that game against the Lions? That was it? I get that being the final straw, but that wasn't the first and only straw.
Well, yeah, but they I'm not sure what they fired him a long time ago. They could have talked to Belichick. They probably did,
Well,
right?
that's what I'm saying. Like, you could have been talking to Belichick this whole time. You're not tampering.
Yeah, that's why I don't think there's a real offer on the table for him.
By the way, on the Jaguars thing, remember Michael Lombardi took a shot at the Jaguars, essentially saying that, he kind of alluded to the fact that they didn't want to give full control to Bill Belichick. And
Control.
Yes, and maybe that's why he's at Carolina now. So that was kind of the thing we thought as to why the Jaguars weren't interested.
Yeah, I mean, the loyalty to Trent Baalke has got to be just maddening if you are a Jags fan.
Yeah.
Like, why? What has the guy won? What has he done?
It's bizarre. I've never seen all NFL writers in universal agreement on a topic more than the Jags are screwing up by bringing this guy back because it limits who they can interview. Like Ben Johnson's not going to want to go there if he can't have a say in the GM.
So, Trent Baalke, I know he was with the 49ers, and they had good teams. I feel like Jim Harbaugh gets a lot of credit for the rise there, and Baalke gets a lot of blame for the fall.
Definitely. It's a funny thing about this coaching carousel. There's 6 openings. There are a lot of guys that got, hey, we're going to bring this guy back. Adam Schefter pointed out, like, next year's going to be a bloodbath. The one thing in off-season...
For coaches or GMs?
For coaches. He said if an owner comes out and says, we're going to stick with this guy, that means that guy is going to be fired in a year. Like all these situations where the guy survived, they're not surviving for long.
Do you want to know how that ends up screwing your team, too, when owners do this?
How?
Because coaches and GMs get desperate, and they realize that they're on the hot seat. So what do? Spend money, bad contracts, win now, Band-Aids.
They don't tank.
Yeah, don't tank. Don't do the thing that actually is good for the long term of the organization. They try to save their job in the short term, and then so what do? If that doesn't work, you just saddle the next guy with these terrible contracts, and the fans are the ones who pay the price.
And the Raiders, for example, won a meaningless game at the end of the year and totally screwed themselves from getting a quarterback. And the Giants. But the Giants brought back their coach. But it does, I kind of agree.
But they're on the hot seat. Those two guys are, the coach and GM for the Giants are both on the hot seat.
Right, and it just feels like the way the NFL works, it's likely that they have one more year. I mean, it's not like, I don't expect the Giants to make the playoffs, so that means they could be fired.
Or just watch what the Giants end up doing with quarterback. This is going to be pretty interesting, right? Because you have a GM and a coach on the hot seat. Going into the season on the hot seat, and you need a quarterback. And you're not drafting, you might not be drafting high enough to get one now.
The 2 quarterbacks go.
If the 2 quarterbacks are gone, the desperation to find a Band-Aid here and the overpay that you could have just to try to save your job. Because you can't tank.
But who are you going to overpay for? Like, there's not even anyone worth overpaying for. Sort of recovering from Achilles, Kirk Cousins?
I mean.
But and the other thing, too, is how does that work with Kirk's current contract? I don't know.
I'm just saying these are desperation.
So wait,
stinks.
give me a scenario here. What do you mean?
I think there could be a big overpay for.
Oh, I know who you're going to.
I saw Evan Roberts yesterday saying Aaron Rodgers should come there. There's going to be something desperate that's going to happen with the Giants because those guys are trying to save their jobs and they need a quarterback.
Yeah,
and the owner wants one to magically appear out of thin air.
Well, what if they paid $50 million for Sam Darnold? Is that an overpay?
And again, you are saddling the next guy with a quarterback contract.
Yeah,
Just like Brian Daboll they came in trying to fix Daniel Jones, and then they paid him, and then they had to stay with him, so they didn't draft a quarterback. Stupid.
Well, Rodgers would be good because he's 1 year, so you're not saddling anybody with anything. That's what I'm curious. To me, the debate is, do they go old and recovering from injury, Kirk Cousins or Rodgers, or do they try to get a 28-year-old like Darnold who you have to commit to?
855-212-4227. This is how bad teams stay bad, everybody. Maggie and Perloff, coming up next, we're going to check in on the Cowboys. Friend of the show, Jori Epstein, covers the team and the league for Yahoo. She does a fantastic job. She had an exclusive interview with Dak Prescott not too long ago. She knows everything that's going on with Mike McCarthy and Jerry. She's going to join us next. All right, Perloff, I already got my prize picks all picked out for tonight. Can I interest you in a little Drew Aller less than 185.5 passing yards.
Okay.
And I want to put that directly with my, come on, where'd you go? NBA for tonight. Why is this not coming up? You know what I'm looking for. This is my vamp. Cavaliers coming off of the big win last night over OKC. Mm-hmm. I think now I'm going to go less than on Donovan Mitchell's point total for tonight because I think playing a back-to-back after last night's game, you get where I'm coming
100%.
from.
Yeah. Can I tell you what happened to me last night?
Yes.
I lost, but I had the best time because this is amazing. I had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 41.5.
More than, yeah.
Points, rebounds, and assists combined. He had 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. I'm watching the last 3 minutes of that game closer than anyone has ever watched a game. It was amazing. And Shai Gilgeous missed 2 jumpers at the end that kind of maybe lost, but I can't wait to jump right back in tonight. I love your mixing football in the NBA. Prize Picks is the best. It accepts major credit cards, quick and easy deposits into your account. You can join Prize Picks. It's available in more than 40 states, including California and Texas. Just download the app today and use the code MNP and get a $50 credit instantly when you play just $5. That's code MNP on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Mand P.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones doing a little bit of a dance. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. At least seems to be the latest reporting that maybe they're trying to work out a new contract, Perloff, because McCarthy doesn't have a contract now. Contract expired. Still in an exclusive negotiating window, though, as far as I can tell. But Jerry did block McCarthy from interviewing with the Chicago Bears.
Sure did.
He sure did. Let's bring in Jori Epstein. She's a senior NFL reporter for Yahoo, knows all things, well, in the NFL, but we know your specialty, Jori, Dallas Cowboys. How you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Maggie, Andrew, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are y'all doing?
We're doing fantastic. Okay, so where do you think this stands right now between Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, I think when you look at this at first, when I hear, okay, the Cowboys are blocking or denying is, I think, the exact word that was reported. Mike McCarthy from interviewing for the Chicago Bears, I would say, well, if you're denying rather than delaying this interview, you've got to be bringing him back, right? If not, why are you denying it? But I don't know that there necessarily is so much of a difference because, look, the Cowboys built into Mike McCarthy's contract an exclusive rights, exclusive negotiating agreement window. And so until next Wednesday, as you said, Maggie, deal expired yesterday, but they have another week to be the exclusive negotiator. So I view this as, hey, they're trying to work something out, trying to understand. Mike McCarthy has done a very good job, but not a great job. He's done a great job in the regular season, but an average job in the postseason. Can they get over that hump? What would that look like? And what would a deal look like? And then once they decide that, they move forward. But to me, the biggest indicator that Mike McCarthy is coming back is we have not heard of any other candidates tied to the Cowboys. That could change, but Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, not usually the most under wraps organization.
Yeah, low key and buttoned up is not words I would use to describe the Cowboys.
Well, the way you describe it, Jori, it doesn't sound like it's going to happen, but wouldn't Jerry Jones look like a jerk if he did fire Mike McCarthy after the Bears vacancy was closed?
Everyone's saying that, and I'm not sure I agree, and here's why. If you think about the timeline for coach hirings, other than the New England Patriots, who seem very close to hiring Mike Vrabel by the end of the week, they've fulfilled the Rooney Rule, and I hate to even say it like that because their interviews with guys who are not even in the league anymore don't look like the most honest of fulfilling of the Rooney Rule. But I think other than New England Patriots, like if you're a team that wants to interview someone in the playoffs this weekend, you can't do it yet. The league changed the rules last year to make it so that, hey, you have to actually wait to bring in guys in person, especially if they're in the playoffs. And so I think that it feels very sudden and everything's happening right now. I don't know that it's moving as quickly as we can. Mike McCarthy should be fine if by Wednesday he knows.
Jori Epstein's joining us, senior NFL reporter for Yahoo. And we're talking Cowboys. Is this the right decision, Jori? You mentioned it. Mike McCarthy's been good in the regular season, average. Some people would say even less than that in the postseason. Are they making the right decision if they do bring him back?
I've gone so back and forth this season. Early in the year when they looked terrible, I was like, you need a Mike Vrabel type in there to just toughen up this organization, counter all of the distractions. Then Mike McCarthy started to really overperform with all of his team injured. And I'm like, okay, what's the likelihood someone's better, especially when you have to go through all of that change? But by the end of the year where I settled was, Mike McCarthy is a very good coach, but this offense and Dak Prescott specifically need a super creative mind who can take them to the next level, really maximize everything they can do. And I'm actually less concerned about the leadership than I am the scheme, because Dak and co have shown they can lead. And so I think the best option would be to go chase a Ben Johnson type. Do I think that's what Jerry's history tells us he will do? No.
Why doesn't Jerry do this? I think I know the answer, but does Jerry get comfortable with a certain level of sharing the spotlight? And would a Ben Johnson be too risky that he'd take away the spotlight?
I actually don't think it's a spotlight thing. I think Jerry probably gets a little bit too much flack for a spotlight. Yes, he talks all the time, and I'm not trying to downplay that. But I don't think it's a spotlight so much as there's an element of comfort, but there's also an element that for better and for worse, Jerry Jones views everyone's best self as their common baseline threshold. And so he always says, well, I've seen Ezekiel Elliott rush for 2,000 yards before, 1,000 yards before. Why wouldn't he do it again? And it's like, well, humans are dynamic. They evolve. So we're not always at our best. And it's awesome that Jerry Jones has this belief in people. And we all need a hype person like that. But I think when he looks at, Mike McCarthy has won a Super Bowl, so of course he'll win one again. That's not actually how reality works.
Man, that kind of makes me want to work for Jerry a little bit. It's
great.
You only like me on my best day? You think that's me all the time? That's definitely not Jerry all the time. I don't know why you would think that of anyone else. Jori Epstein is joining us, covers the NFL for Yahoo, and we're talking a lot about the Dallas Cowboys. Jori, Perloff thinks the Cowboys need to just tear everything down.
Yeah.
I think they're too far into this thing, in for a penny, in for a pound. Too much money to Dak, CD, it's going to be Micah Parsons. I don't even think they could do that. Is there a team building aspect of this that we're just overlooking, that the Cowboys are on the wrong track?
Yes, you can't tear everything down because you paid Dak, you paid CD, you're about to pay Micah Parsons. If you want to tear things down, you don't give the most expensive quarterback contract in history, $60 million a year, which, by the way, hasn't started yet. He had a year left on his deal last year, so Dak's deal starts this year, which I don't think is a bad decision. I'm a little bit biased in that regard because I spent a lot of time with Dak through the years, but I do think the likelihood you find a replacement, and also I view teams as, where are you in your life cycle? Do you have the talent to contend? If you do, try and get really close above that threshold to increase your likelihood of winning a game that's so much variability. If not, tear it down. See the New England Patriots, the New York Giants. I think what they need to do is just make sure that their offensive line and their run game is much more solid than what it was this year. And I know you can say, well, if you have your quarterback, do you need to have the run game? I'm not saying draft a guy with the 10th overall pick, and they don't have that necessarily in the first round. I'm saying if you don't have the protection for Dak, no quarterback is going to succeed without protection. We saw that when Mahomes and the Chiefs faced the Bucs a few years ago. If you don't have someone who could run the game, everyone is going to sell it with Dak. So I think shoring up the offensive line will be step one for the Cowboys.
It always feels like there's some nerves about next season. The report that Trayvon Diggs had another thing happen with his knee. Obviously, Demarion Overshawn seemed like a star on the rise. He's out. The schedule gets brutal next year. I was telling Maggie, I don't think anyone's going to be picking Super Bowl for the Cowboys next year. Dak, we haven't seen him healthy. I wonder, what's the level of optimism in Dallas? Because I'm not sure they're getting closer to a Super Bowl just the way reality is.
I don't think there's a level of optimism. I think there's a level of confusion of what is Jerry planning to do, and does he have a plan? But I will say, in terms of no one picking the Super Bowl, Andrew, tell me when since 2016, when Dak was drafted, that no one was picking the Cowboys for a Super Bowl. People are going to find a way to convince themselves. Jerry is going to find a way to convince you. He maybe shouldn't say this year he's going all in if he's not actually going to make moves in free agency, but someone is going to be picking the Cowboys for the Super Bowl.
Do you think he will be able to do something in free agency this year? Is there any players that could come and help?
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, it's only been 2 years since the Cowboys found Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks in free agency, which were both good pickups. Now, it hadn't been there normally, but they did it 2 years ago, and that's why they felt so confident about their roster last year before they just flamed out against the Packers in the playoffs. So I do think there should be key pieces, and making sure, whether it's through the draft or free agency, that CeeDee Lamb is not the only really threatening receiver on that roster will be key.
Jori Epstein joining us from Yahoo. Just another minute. Jori, of the 6 openings now of teams that need head coaches, which one do you think is the best? The most attractive?
It's such a great question. I think this really comes down to, I mean, we keep hearing candidates, ownership, quarterback. To me, I think the Patriots probably have that combination. Now, again, there are elements of the Patriots organization that are super outdated and they need to bring up to date from Bill Belichick because he was covering for so many jobs. But I believe in Drake May. And I think that when I look at Drake May compared to Caleb Williams, first of all, I think Drake has been a little more even keeled. Like, yes, he's had a lot going on around him. And secondly, I just think the general manager president structure in Chicago would make me question what's going on. They do not have an offensive line. I think the Patriots give a coach more to work with.
All right, Jori, I have 2 important non-specific NFL questions. One, did you see Jerry Jones in Landman? And if so, the show on Paramount, any review? And I looked it up. You went to Texas. How optimistic are you for this weekend, for Friday night?
Can I just tell you? So when sometimes videos autoplay on your Twitter feed, like I'll be watching an NFL Network video and something autoplays. So the Jerry video autoplayed, but whatever tweet it was not explaining what it was. And I was so confused. I'm like, is this the Jerry Netflix documentary coming out? What is going on? He's really emotional. So I did not see it in full, but I did catch a glimpse. And hey, as everyone's saying, he did a great job. And Texas made me a little nervous against Arizona State. So I think that we need to have a better performance if we expect to advance past Ohio State. But hey, maybe Ohio State got a little confident.
Jori, how many teams are going to be tanking for Arch? And, I just said this to Perloff in the break, and I said it kind of tongue-in-cheek. I'm like, wow, Mary, Adam Schefter's really pushing the Steve Sarkisian's going to be a candidate for some of these NFL jobs story. He keeps tweeting about it and saying it over and over again. Have you heard any teams looking at Sark?
I haven't necessarily heard a team say, hey, we're interested, but I will tell you is if you want to make the dots really easy to connect, you know where Sark's game is this weekend? At Jerry World, AT&T Stadium. Expect Jerry to be in the building. He often goes to those college games because why not scout the guys when they're in your backyard? So do I think that could be kind of a dark horse that's maybe not even that dark for the Cowboys? Yes. Do I think that kind of offensive mind could elevate the Cowboys? Yes. But I wouldn't say that they are moving along the track to like necessarily, they're not hiring Sark right after that game. But I think that, hey, Jerry sees something. And again, if he sees Sark at his best, remember, Jerry sees the best and he thinks that's the baseline.
Wow. So if Texas upsets Ohio State, maybe we can start connecting some dots between Sark and the Cowboys. Makes sense to me. Jori Epstein, senior NFL reporter for Yahoo. We appreciate it always, Jori. Thank you.
Great to be on with you, Maggie and Andrew.
Appreciate that. There's some dominoes there that I didn't want to bring up with Jori as a Texas alum. If Sark gets the Dallas job, let's say in some alternate universe,
love it.
Does Arch hit the portal?
Well, I was going to say there's a certain coach who's available. Mac Brown, bring him right back to Texas. Andrew Bogusch sitting here with updates. Can I give you guys a scenario that will solve all these coaching problems?
We'd love it.
So Bill Belichick wants to go to the NFL, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we think that if they had an opportunity, how about Ben Johnson goes back to his alma mater, North Carolina, where he's a backup to TJ Yates, takes that Belichick job off his hands. Ben Johnson's happy. Who doesn't want to coach at their college? Then Belichick gets to go to wherever Ben Johnson is going. Everyone's happy.
You don't think Ben Johnson could have had that North Carolina job if he wanted it?
Well, that's a good point. But I don't know.
They called Arthur Smith. You don't think they called Ben Johnson?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't remember him actually being talked about. And why wasn't
Neither was Bill Belichick, so they turned over all the stones.
But we did know about Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
That is an interesting point. They did it. Why didn't they interview Ben Johnson?
I don't know. Did they interview Julius Peppers? Did they call in every person? I have no idea.
Julius Peppers a coach? And is he Julius Pepper interviewing with the Bears this week?
Same reason why I didn't ask the prettiest girl to the prom when I was in high school.
Yeah, I know.
No chance in hell.
I know. Oh, that's what I was thinking. It was like Ben Johnson wouldn't take his alma mater, would he? Probably not.
He'd just have to wait 41 years.
I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to think of an out for Bill Belichick. Bill could call the dean of North Carolina and say, "Listen, I have to go. I'm very sorry, but I got you this guy." Or just like if Bill can find his own replacement at North Carolina, does that help him leave?
How many May brothers are there?
Luke.
Wrong sport.
Or just give it to Josh McDaniels. Say, hey, I have to leave, but you can have McDaniels.
Dude, that's a bait and switch. That is just wrong to do. Talk about the dating analogy. That's like bringing hey, I got someone for your friend.
Yeah. These are desperate times for Bill Belichick. You know he wants out of this North Carolina thing, Maggie. Do you have a better way out?
Well, let me think on it. Bogusch has headlines for us. What's up, Bogusch?
Guys, who cares if the 8-28 Toronto Raptors were in town? The Knicks didn't lose again last night, so at least one of us is wearing a jacket and snow hat inside because they've got Knick logos on them.
Knicks pulling away here with a 10-0 run. Hart's got a double-double, and Anunoby's got a clear path. Another big night for Anunoby against the Raptors. He's got 25.
Tyler Murray on MSG TV. Anunoby and Karl Anthony Towns each scored 27 in a 112-98 win that snapped a 3-game drought. Tom Thibodeau's job is safe for now.
Over the course of the season, sometimes you're gonna stumble, and you got to get back up, and you got to refocus. And we went through a rough stretch on the road and lock into the recovery. And do that, and then just find a way to win.
A win that led Angry Manny to tweet, "We are so back."
We are the New York Knicks.
And they beat the Raptors last night.
Dude, we're so back.
So back.
So back.
So back. OG with 27 in front of Emma Roberts. I would show out too.
Back from what? 1998? What are we doing here?
2024.
You think OG was showing out because the actress Emma Roberts was in the front row?
Correct, yes.
This is a thing for him.
Yeah.
Oh, he likes her?
No, he ran into the stands, almost ran into Anne Hathaway, and then he went on an absolute tear. There was a third thing that happened, too. Something with, beautiful women being at Knick games, and OG, I knew we were turning into Scottie Pippen.
Well, I think you got the formula. Just basically get the roster of SI swimsuit models in there, and you guys are going to win the title.
The thing is, Dolan's been trying that, and we haven't won anything, so I don't know what's going on.
Well, get him not sitting next to Dolan.
There you go.
There you go.
From your lips to Dolan's ears.
Well, we know he's tracking me pretty closely. So I'm sure he's heard about this. Good morning, James.
Nothing to see here. The Cavaliers pushed their win streak to 11 while snapping the Thunder's 15-game run, 129-122 in Cleveland. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley combining for 46 points, 21 rebounds, and 13 assists. Dame and Giannis combined for 51 points as the Bucks cruise past the Spurs, 121-105. Zion sat out the second half of a back-to-back as he returns from that hamstring injury. The Pelicans lose again, 119-100 to the Blazers. And the Pacers top the Bulls, 129-113. Tyrese Halliburton, 16 points and 13 assists.
Yeah, this is bad. I hate to admit it, but we're excited because we're going to New Orleans in a couple weeks for the Super Bowl. And I actually thought to myself, I should check Zion Williams' Instagram, see what restaurants he's eating at.
Oh, wow. Oh, he looks thin, though, right now. Oof. He's not eating anywhere.
Elbows up.
By the way,
they thought it.
They said he was not going to play last night, so it wasn't a surprise.
Oh, no, I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
He looks amazing. You guys got to get on board with Zion. Someday it's all going to come together.
For who? For him, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, he's so much fun to watch.
You realize everyone was on board with him until he just stopped playing basketball, right? Yeah. Like nobody disliked Zion Williamson.
But you guys don't but he's not your favorite player, and that makes no sense to me.
Because he doesn't play basketball
right. Yeah, what do you mean?
Enough, you know?
Right, a Sasquatch would be my favorite net if Harry and the Hendersons stood up for him.
Oh, come on. If he played 82 games, I still don't think you guys are in the cult of Zion like some people are.
We all were Zion was the biggest thing in basketball when he was at Duke, when he was playing every game.
Yeah. Oh, especially these two Knicks fans. They thought Zion was going to opt out.
I was tank for Zion. I was all Zion.
Remember when we were going to get Kyrie, KD, and Zion?
So do you guys I watch anytime the Pelicans are on TV, that's my number one.
That's a sad thing, but yes, I know.
Yeah, that game we had, that playoff game where he went nuts, that was my most exciting basketball experience in a long time. You guys aren't Zion fans. Forget it. I don't even want to talk to you guys.
I mean,
so Zion playing games greater than Thunder Cavs finals games.
Oh man! Oh look, an 8-foot Darius Garland floater. Feel the excitement.
Yeah, great. Another CJ McCollum three. Is he still on the team, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Phew, I whiffed on that Vince Carter thing earlier. I was like, I can't have another basketball one go wrong.
He was joking that they graduated him from Unc to Grandpa. His teammates because he's so old.
Literally the president of the union.
Yeah,
he's doing paperwork.
The Chicago Bears interviewed offensive coordinators, he said, Mike Kafka and Drew Petzing for their head coaching job. Today is Pete Carroll. We're told they also want to speak with Cliff Kingsbury and Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell. Mike Vrabel and the Patriots meet today, and Lions OC Ben Johnson starts a string of virtual chats with New England, Jacksonville, and those Bears. Villanova took down 9th-ranked UConn last night, 68-66. That's the Huskies' first loss since going 0-3 at the Maui Invitational. On the women's side, UConn hammering Xavier 81-27. Damn. Without Paige Becker, she could be back next week from Sunday's knee injury. And hockey last night, the original Connor Bedard scoring in Chicago's 3-1 win over the Avalanche. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. We are making college football picks in just moments. Stay tuned.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Perloff. If you missed our interview with Jori Epstein from Yahoo, she said something interesting, Pearl, that you and I have kind of been like-minded about, but Jori and also EJ were not on board with us, which is the fact that Jerry Jones blocked Mike McCarthy or denied Mike McCarthy the opportunity to interview with the Bears, we thought meant, okay, he's coming back to the Cowboys. But Jori and EJ both didn't see it that way. They see it as this negotiation period. It's exclusive. It's in the contract. And if they don't get anything done, well, Mike McCarthy still has plenty of time in this cycle to interview for jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it is a great point. This is going to take a little bit longer because of the wild card playoff teams. Still, it just, I think the optics of it, of not hiring him and then Chicago getting filled, which is possible. I mean, even though until January 14th, it seems like the Bears have an idea of who they want. I think they probably want Ben Johnson. Or Vrabel. And if Vrabel takes the New England job, as Jori predicted, that leaves Ben Johnson. And I think if they settle there and McCarthy gets screwed, then it's going to look bad. I still think Jerry kind of looks like a jerk. And I think he will be back.
I do. Yeah, but it's a guy, he can work with a GM that's influential. That way, whatever adjective you want to use for Jerry. Peterson. Yeah, that's true.
I think that would be too weird of a switch. Jerry was always linked to Lincoln Riley, like these Texas-based coaches. I know where Lincoln Riley's from Tech. Isn't that where he was originally from? So, and he's been watching Steve Sarkisian up close in Austin. That could make sense. Same with Cliff. I've always wondered if Jerry was interested in Cliff Kingsbury. Jerry is a very relationship-based person. I don't think he's analytical. I think he's more emotional bond. And I don't mean that as an insult. I love that. What Jori told us, Jerry sees everyone's best day, and that's why he brought Ezekiel Elliott back.
And that at least makes sense. I couldn't figure out what else was going on.
That's why he's paying Dak Prescott $60 million next year.
Loyalty. And seeing everyone as their best self. What a way to look at people. How do you become a billionaire and look at people as only on their best day? I just imagine billionaires have to be cold-blooded, cynical, the ones who really built themselves into their money.
Yeah, you need to strike oil, Maggie.
Well, literally.
That is key. The Patriots, the Bill Belichick, they always looked at someone on their worst day. They always cut people a year early.
Yeah, what do you think? Which one has worked out better?
Clearly, the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, I don't endorse that necessarily for society, but for football, I think judging someone on their worst day is probably better than their best.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right.
Let's get to our picks. Okay, so we're just going to make the college picks today because the college football semifinal begins tonight. So, EJ, let's get our records, though, up to this point. How we doing?
All right, so kind of a weird week last week. So, Maggie, you went 0-5.
Brutal.
So that dropped your record to just 2 games above 500 now, 46-44. Perloff, you went 1-2-2. You had 2 pushes. So your record is now 43-45-2.
The funny thing about one of the pushes, it was the total, right? 37?
Yep.
Went way down, and it ended up going
what
way
game
over.
Was it?
The Tennessee Texans game?
Yep.
And went way over the actual total, but early in the week, for some reason, it was 37. Anyway, what are you going to do? I think it ended up at 35.5.
I lost every which way you can lose last week. It was hilarious. Anyway, let's get to tonight. So for me, Perloff, if we make 2 college picks and 3 NFL, we're just going to make the 2 college picks today.
Yep.
I am staying as far away from the spread on this game as humanly possible. I have no idea who's going to win tonight. I know what I think, but not to bet. Not the spread to me. The under. This is what I like from Penn State and Notre Dame tonight. Give me the under 45.5. What's the calling card of both of these teams, Pearl?
Defense for Notre Dame. I'm not sure. Penn State is their tight end and their defense.
Right. So I think that Notre Dame's going to do an admirable job on Ty Warren, and I'm not sure what Penn State's going to do after that. Probably try to run the ball, but again, that's going to lean more towards a lower scoring game, in my opinion. Give me the under 45.5.
Okay, in that game, if you watch it on YouTube, I switched out of my Penn State sweater, and now I'm wearing a Notre Dame T-shirt because I think this is the day that Notre Dame gets back to the title game. They have so many studs on defense. It's easy to stop Penn State. You put 3 guys on Ty Warren, and you're good. I really like Notre Dame. What makes me nervous is it's a 1.5-point spread. I have this bizarre...
Notre Dame's favored.
Yeah, I have this bizarre feeling that Notre Dame's going to win 28-27, and I'm going to lose this bet. And I have to deal with insufferable Notre Dame fans. Because I agree it's going to be a really close game, so I'm going Fighting Irish. What about the other game?
Okay, for the other game, I think I'm the only person in America who's taking Texas in the points, which is why I'm taking Texas in the points.
Pretty good reason.
That's just like a betting strategy more than it's actually a thought on the game. I still think Ohio State is clearly playing much better than Texas is. Texas, you could argue, shouldn't even be in this game. If not for a targeting call that should have gone Arizona State's way, we're not even talking about this. I mean, Quinn Ewers had to make the throw of a lifetime just to get here. But maybe that scares a little the bejesus into Texas. They have to stay aggressive if they get a lead. They know they can't afford to sit on anything, especially against Ohio State. And I got to hope that Quinn Ewers has the game of his life.
Okay. That is really smart. I originally was going to pick Ohio State, but all this action on Ohio State made me nervous. Instead, I'm going to go in the total of this game, which is 53.5. And that is it's a very well set total. I'm going over because life is way too short to bet the under. But I hope you're right, because as long as Ohio State doesn't pull a Michigan and try and run all day, I think they're going to be able to score. Texas has got this great defensive line, and they're probably going to kill Ohio State's O-line. But you just get Jeremiah Smith and Egbuka in space and off to the races. I think Ohio State jumps out to a lead. Then Texas, we know they can pass when they want to. You never know when they want to. I think that they're going to play from behind and get the total up. I'm going over 53.5.
Okay, there you go. So I'm taking Texas plus the 6 points, and I'm going under on tonight's Notre Dame Penn State game, 45.5.
Yeah, I'm going Notre Dame laying 1.5 points, and I'm taking over 53.5 in Friday night's Texas Ohio State game. I was going to sing the Notre Dame fight song, but I always get it confused with the Michigan fight song.
I know. You always start and it's Notre Dame, but then it goes into the Hail to the Victor.
I was about to say, Hail to the Irish. Da, da, da. Wait, how does the Notre Dame start? Da, da, da.
Cheer for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And all of us.
I mean, they're kind of similar.
Well, everything that by a marching band kind of sounds similar. There you go. Enjoy the game tonight, guys. Thank you, E.J. Stewart, Manny Rodriguez, Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, Jori Epstein, who joined us, the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers. You're just so big of part of what we do.
Give me one thing tonight, Maggie. An early start. Says 7:30. Give me 7. Oh, no, actually, that's Friday night. I don't even know what tonight says. Just don't make it end at midnight.